Bullshit.
He watches his mother shoot his father 3 times in the back.
I'm Mr. Blackman. There's a puppy. I look like Quasimodo to you.
What about Jody Lauer? What about China?
Speak to the deathbed.
Let's just get an impact. Why waste time? There's plenty to talk about.
With here, episode of TNA Impact.
Scrimpact, I believe as the kids call it.
Sure.
I'm
hip with the lingo.
This was the show in which we got a leaked script, and I was busy typing, Vinny, but you had a script with you the entire time, and I believe you may have been reading along.
I consulted the script. I tried to read along for the whole time, but the truth was I was also writing notes, and that made it difficult. They basically stuck to the script. I was consulting it mainly to see who was a heel and who was a babyface.
Very important.
Was an absolute necessity.
Was there anybody that deviated strongly from the script and anyone that did not?
Not terribly. The promos in there were written word for word, which they did not do, but they got the points across in the order they were in there. A lot of the scripts, a lot of the comedy was in there. The script merely said things like, Coach and AJ Styles have a meeting, and then it just said, to be determined. So they put that off until the very last minute.
Well, for those of you that read the script, like myself, and went, what an awful show, it was worse. It was worse because there were segments on this show that played out so much worse than they were on paper. I didn't think that was possible, but somehow they did. And the stuff at AJ's grandma's house was the worst shite I've ever seen.
It's gone to the point where it used to be they wanted to be a wrestling show, but they couldn't do that. So they said, let's be a comedy show, which I would be okay with, except they're worse at that. Their shitty wrestling show was 1,000,000 times better than their shitty comedy show.
Their comedy is so bad. Like, so unbelievably not funny. Let me tell you how unbelievably not funny it is, everybody. Sometimes you say something and it's funny, and everyone goes, ha, 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 they laugh. Sometimes you say something and it's not funny.
I'm familiar with that.
But it's so blatantly not funny that everyone goes, ha, 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 ha. And then there's stuff that's so not funny that you can't even laugh at it.
No.
Because it's painfully not funny.
It actually makes you angry.
It makes you embarrassed.
You feel bad for the person telling the joke.
Yeah, you sort of start, your cheeks flush a little bit, and you have that feeling of, you're uncomfortable. Like somebody else, like some other human being has just been humiliated. And it just feels bad. You know what I mean?
It's sympathy, yes.
I understand these feelings. Maybe none of you do, but I empathize with the poor.
The performers.
And the...
We're merely trying to do their jobs.
The poor and
woebegone?
Woebegone. And,
unfortunate.
Who are the ones that came over and the Statue of Liberty is welcoming them? They're yearning to be free.
The huddled masses.
The huddled masses yearning to be free. I feel for those people. Shut up.
You're wretched?
Just quiet. So anyway, that's how I feel when this comedy is so bad. I feel terrible for them. And then I get angry because it just keeps going. Like, you know how it's sort of, I don't want to use this analogy because this sounds bad, but
you're going to anyway.
But I'm going to anyway. Let's take you, for example, Vinny.
Sure. At this point, I don't care.
Somebody makes fun of you, you just take it.
Usually, yes.
Okay, and then they keep making fun of you, and you keep taking it.
That's the way it goes,
And pretty soon, the sympathy for you kind of goes away.
Okay,
sure. He just keeps fucking taking it. Fuck the poor guy. You know what I mean? That's what it's like on this show.
Valid, right.
Okay? The first time they make a bad joke, and it's embarrassing, you're like, oh, man, that was a bad one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're so bad at comedy. And then after about the fifth skit, you're like, fuck you! Fuck you! This is not funny, it's painfully not funny, and it's your own fault that you are suffering this misery right now. I just can't even... I don't even know.
I believe it was the Observer recapper who compared it to Hee Haw with shitty wrestling replacing the shitty music.
Even Hee Haw was cultish. There was a well, I guess TNA is too in some way. Let's just talk about this stupid thing. They recapped last week, which involved yelling, screaming, and then suddenly, Okay, I wish we just had a drop of this, okay?
Yeah.
They're recapping the entire 2-hour show, which, as even Dave Meltzer has noted, you must take notes to understand what's going on.
Right.
You must, okay? So imagine a show that you must take notes on for 2 hours, condensed into a 30-second recap.
Good luck.
Or according to the script, 1 minute, but I think that's bullshit. So they try and get all 2 hours, every angle in the 2 hours from the previous week into 1 minute. And it involves just screaming. Everybody's screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming back and forth, and it's mind-numbing. And then all of a sudden, the screen just goes black, and you see the words, ranking by Gauntlet. And then the screen goes blank again. What?
There's one detail which I picked up that you're missing that I think adds to this whole thing. The confusing montage of random people screaming. It ended with AJ and Kurt and Christian in the ring, or no, excuse me, with the bit where AJ was going to interfere, but he couldn't decide what to do. So what happened was he dropped the chair and ran up the ramp, and they showed him running up the ramp in slow motion toward the horizon, out in the distance, and they added in an audio drop. The audio drop was AJ Styles bellowing in a mournful wail, Tomko!
Yes.
Yes, because he missed Tomko and needed to be told what to do. And then it went to the graphic which read rankings by Gauntlet, and the show was off.
It was off. Never explained what that meant, by the way. It just appeared there like a subliminal message.
Except they can't even do that right because we picked it up.
Yes, it was on the screen for too long to be a subliminal message.
It was liminal.
So, then we had Jeremy Borash at AJ Styles' grandmother's house. They said AJ had sequestered himself in for 3 days or something like that. AJ was there. They had a coach there and a priest. Sadly, no sailor or Indian. His sister was there, who I would like to add is named MJ Styles.
Yeah. Comedy!
MJ Styles.
Yes. That person on our board?
Yes!
Oh.
We have a board member, MJ Styles. Apparently it's a her.
There you go.
So, Borash, that had to be a message to me, by the way. Some sort of subtle fuck off in some way.
Sure.
So, Borash pounded on the door, and AJ responded, I'm not here. And Borash said we had to know which side AJ was choosing. So, when he didn't get an answer, he said we would get one before the night was over. And then suddenly a fat man appeared and said he wanted to give a shout-out, and then they cut away.
I don't know.
We had MJ Styles and shout-outs in this segment alone.
That's right.
That had to be a fuck-off.
I guess.
That's what they presented us, was these skits.
I felt fucked off by these skits, yes.
Yes.
I would rather have just seen a giant middle finger, in fact, but I was...
With B and V on it?
Yes, just alternating back and forth.
Sure.
But I will say that when Borash knocked on this door and said, AJ, and AJ replied with, I'm not here, I will concede that I laughed. It was the last time I laughed for the next 2 hours. I spent most of that time closer to tears. I was just lifted by this, trying to figure out why the hell was this so important that they sent Jeremy Borash to Gainesville to interview the Styles family. Who cares?
We will get into that in a moment, in fact. So then, they said the pay-per-view was Sunday.
Was there a good segment on this entire show?
Which freaked me out. A pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yes, 2 days. 3 days.
Here's another reason I feel bad about this whole show and why it pains me. Whenever I interview Dave about Impact, and even when he gets really angry, he can always concede that there's good wrestling on the show. I finally figured it out tonight that somehow he's able to separate it in his brain. He can watch the wrestling and just enjoy it for the self-contained wrestling match it is. I can't do that. This show makes me so angry that I cannot even appreciate anything on this show that's good. So I find everything to be bad. Even though if I really thought about it, I'm sure there was some good in-ring action on the show.
On this particular episode we're discussing now?
Yes.
No, there wasn't. There was seriously about 60 seconds of goodness.
Okay, we'll find out here in a minute. So, they announced that we were going to have 4 Gauntlet matches, which is a Royal Rumble, by the way, everybody.
We need 4 of those in one show.
To determine the rankings for all 4 divisions in 2008. So, Cornette announced this, by the way. He also said Robert Roode and Tracy would face Booker T and Sharmell at the pay-per-view. And as they were running down the main event, think about this, everybody. Cornette's running down what's going to be on the pay-per-view Sunday, and he gets to the main event. Now, the main event, I think, that's the important one. That's the one that's going to sell your buys, right?
I'm almost positive that's what main means.
Okay. So he's about to start talking about the main event, and that's when they have Samoa Joe do a run-in.
Well, you couldn't.
He ran in on their own plug for their own pay-per-view main event.
Yes.
They could not wait until this plug had gotten out.
No.
They had to sabotage their own fucking show. So.
There was another stupid thing here. Not nearly that counterproductive, but Cornette, before he mentioned that he had granted the Outsiders a tag team title match.
He did. He just throws us out.
To which I said, what? Why? We have not seen either of these guys we've seen Nash in a while. We haven't seen Scott Hall in a month. And he never wrestled in TNA. Why did he get a title match?
No, hold on. There's more. He didn't announce this title match. He began speaking of this match as if it had been announced weeks back, and we were all privy to it.
He did say, now I have granted them a title match, and...
Incorrect. No one knew. No one on the fucking whole earth knew. Dave Meltzer didn't know, and he knows everything. Nobody knew! And Cornette throws this out like it's common knowledge. So, out comes Joe. He is bitching.
He is a babyface.
A babyface bitching. And then out comes Nash.
Also a babyface.
And he says that Hall had more problems in an hour than Joe had in a lifetime, and Joe had no right to run him down. I was waiting for an explanation. I did not get one.
Don't ever do that watching this show. You won't get it.
Nash said Joe reminded him of the Outsiders when they were younger. He said, however, the Outsiders had achieved something in this business Joe had not. And I was wondering what that was as well.
There it was with you.
Didn't get it. So Joe said sometimes the dominant pack leaders need to move aside or be pushed aside. They were about to get in a brawl, and then Cornette, of course, signed the two of them to a tag match. It is now Nash and Joe against Tomko and AJ for the TNA tag team titles at the pay-per-view.
Because the natural thing to do with any two men who want to fight is book them on the same team.
Yes.
That's how UFC got so famous. That's how WrestleMania sold out, because Rocky and Austin were friends.
So in this pay-per-view plug segment, no buys.
Oh, God, no. Fuck no.
So, Crystal interviewed Roode about the Booker-Sharmell match. He said he would slap the taste out of Sharmell's mouth. Tracy said it took a tough man to hit a woman. I despise you, she said. He ran her down. She said she had no problem with Booker Sharmell. He told her he had a problem, and his problems were her problems, and if not, he'd be her personal problem. Thank God for that script, because otherwise, no understanding of any of this. So, Roode is a great heel.
Wasted.
Yeah, he's got great delivery, but I'm so sick of people fighting with each other on this show that I derive no enjoyment out of this.
Well, okay, then I guess she's explained she doesn't want to wrestle in the match. She doesn't have any problem with Booker or Sharmell. So he's going to force her to fight alongside him. Now, think about this for a second. If this was real, and you had
overthinking.
If you had someone who said, I'm not going to fight them, and you said, yes, you will, because it's in your contract, do you think they're going to fight as hard as they can, or do you think they may just take it a little easy?
Well,
this show sucks.
Sure does. They interviewed Team 3D and Crystal, except she got sick of Bubba harassing her and stormed off. So he cut a promo. And then Billy Gunn and Road Dogg came in and yelled at each other. And I stopped caring very early in this, so I stopped recapping. I can tell you all you are missing nothing. Everyone hates each other, and it was awful.
I can't tell you. Here's one where they deviated from the script. We actually read this part of this promo on the air as part of our live thespian action, or hot thespian action. And as you recall in the original script, Bubba Ray called Devon Donkey Kong. Or called him Curious George.
Yes.
And I said, no offense, and Devon said, none taken. What happened on TV was, first of all, it was Johnny Devine. Second of all, he called him King Kong, which sounds much better to me. And this time, Devon got angry.
Yes.
And Bubba had to break it up. So someone pointed out to Vince, hey, this is offensive.
Yeah.
The script you've written here, it's a bad joke, and people will get angry. Devon will get angry.
Curious George?
Don't know.
Who writes this shit?
It's the
At
first
least King Kong, the movie, just fucking came out.
Now you know what Vince Russo reads in his spare time.
So then we had the first tag team gauntlet. Kip James and Lance Hoyt started. Kip James This is a good thing about TNA. I'm going to actually say something good about TNA, everybody, so set your recorders, even though this is already recorded. It is now a gimmick that Billy Gunn dresses like a homosexual.
Yes.
The announcers make fun of it, and the other wrestlers make fun of it, and he appears oblivious. Funny.
He was out there in the usual Tori Wilson style tights, and this time they were covered in cherries.
Yes. Gay.
I don't know where the hell you would find this, but I guess if you want to, you can.
I would guess Victoria's Secret. Then we had, the match.
They had a gauntlet.
Oh, God. So, 1 minute intervals, Homicide eliminated Billy in his shorts, and then Don West announced that if BG could survive until the final two, then Kip James could come back per the rules. Because you see...
There's nothing like making a Rumble match more complicated.
The last two men, their partners come back for a tag match. Yes.
The other great thing about this was it was not a random entry. Teams entered this match in the order that Jim Cornette seeded them. And the way it worked is one guy from each team came out, and then when all those guys were in there, the other half of the teams came out in the same order. So Don West was studiously taking notes and letting us know who would come out next.
Hell of a gauntlet. Man. Let's take all the fun out of it. So, anyway, some shit happened, and then it was Motor City Machine Guns against Jimmy Rave and Lance Hoyt. And I should note that because this is TNA, there's a great comparison between TNA and SmackDown. SmackDown had Beat the Clock, and in only one of the matches, the longest one, mind you, did they go to commercial in the middle of the match. Because there's a clock going, and you're keeping track of all this stuff. Every other Beat the Clock match went uninterrupted by commercials. This fucking Royal Rumble match that they had right here, they went to a commercial right before the final eliminations.
Yes.
So there's like 8 men in the ring.
Yes.
They go to commercial, and they come back, and it's a tag match.
Correct.
And they decide to start trying to show us the eliminations in a little box on the corner of the screen.
Here's what we saw, right? When they went to commercial, there was 7 or 8 guys fighting the ring. When it came back, there was a tag team match going on. They showed in a small box for about 4 seconds, they showed the other 6 dudes flying out.
Yes.
Then they wrestled for 15 seconds, and then there was a pin.
Yeah. Tag match already over.
I swear to Christ.
Tag match already over.
If you left the room to go to the bathroom or get something to eat or drink, or if your phone rang, you missed the finish to this match.
And the final eliminations.
Yes.
Because of the commercial.
You missed everything.
Yes.
So, fuck off, TNA.
This company can do nothing right.
They can suck my dick.
Vinny, please. So, then they actually had a good angle. I will say this again. The TNA did something good. Team 3D came out afterwards, and they beat up Shelley and Sabin. They put their arms on the tables, and they whacked their wrists with kendo sticks. Babyfaces sold it like they'd broken their wrists, and the idea was, with broken wrists, they can't climb the cables. Now, that is good. That is good,
it does make
but
sense.
there is an issue. Just because you broke their wrists doesn't mean you're any skinnier, Bubba Ray. Okay? Your plan does not make it easier for your fat ass to scale these cables. So really, you just assured that there can be no winner.
You're sure the match will go forever.
You and your partner are too fat, and your opponents can't hang on cables. You've just sabotaged the entire match, which I guess is fine, you know. This should be a hell of a match. And by the way, what a selling point. No one can scale the cables, including the little men.
Exactly.
Buy the pay-per-view. Everyone in this match is impotent.
Well, this is not as bad as the time they did that when they put Joe in Ultimate X and they teased, is he too fat to climb?
Yes.
He was supposed to be, at the time, he was supposed to be a main eventer.
And then it turned out he was.
Yes.
And what a fool he looked like.
God, Jesus. That really was when...
Let's play a song here because I need to take a break. What should we play? Hold on a second. Okay, here we go.
Did you read the Great Khali workout plan?
I did.
That was so awesome. Everyone go to WWE.com and read the Working Out with a Great Khali section, or Be Great Like Khali, or whatever they called it. It's awesome.
It is. What's this? A lot of people have made gay jokes about us and that sort of thing. Not one of these again. Come on, everyone.
That joke's also old.
How about this?
Any drops in this song?
I don't know. Fail.
Epic fail.
Fail. We'll play an oldie with a goodie, and then we'll get back to this horrible show. Triple fucking H. 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 Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, don't make songs where there's no drop for 30 seconds, everyone. All right. Back to the grind. All right, where were we?
They went back to AJ's house. Excuse me, AJ's granny's house.
No, not yet. Kurt and Karen did the promo.
Oh, shit, you're right.
From the script where Angle said in a drawer of knives he was not the sharpest. And then when he left, Crystal goes, "Did he really just say that?" And Karen goes, "Well, clearly I didn't marry him for his brains." You know what they need is a laugh track.
Someone did that. Someone took an episode of TNA and they played the clips.
They did.
It was awesome. It all worked perfectly. Even Kurt and Boris were walking. It was the one where someone stole Kurt's clothes.
God, if I could remember what that was called, I'd find it on YouTube and we'd play it.
It was just, and beyond the laugh track, they also did things like Chris was having an interview and James Storm showed up and they put an applause. It was the show was a sitcom. Except it used to, at least that one, it wasn't hysterical, but it was not offensively unfunny. This show pissed me off.
Okay, I gotta see if we can find it. Hold on. Well, we'll go to the end of the show. Don't let me forget. So, yeah, that was not funny. And then we had the funniest thing I ever saw, which unfortunately for TNA was not on TNA. It was a commercial for a product called Lipozine. Was that bad or what?
This was an unfortunate commercial. To make a long story short, this is a product that promised to burn away fat.
Yes.
So
you
it said
get skinnier.
So it said fat is caused by 4 things, and there was like stress. I forget the other one.
Eating too much.
Poor diet and lack of exercise were on there. And then she said, the Obesity Studies Institute has found a solution. Number 1, it took an entire institute to solve this problem.
It's a mystery.
And number 2, wouldn't the solution be have less stress, eat less, and move more?
You'd think so.
No, you'd be mistaken. The solution is to take a pill. Take a pill called Lipozine, which, as the fine print at the commercial noted, it was clinically proven to burn fat. How much fat, Brian?
4%!
No. But it says something like, over an 8-week study, the average participant lost like 3.6 pounds.
Yes.
Clinically proven.
There was a 4% in there somewhere.
There was something where it said...
And it also said 75% of every pound is fat.
Yes, I guess the other 25% is brain.
There is a unreported 25%.
That's a significant portion, too. It's not like 4%. A quarter of what I'm losing is not fat. It could be brain, it could be eyeball, it could be penis. I don't know.
25% of your mass will disappear, and it is unaccounted for.
Yeah, you have to see the woman doing the commercial, too. She was so serious. She was breaking this down. It's like she was explaining how to avoid cancer forever. She was way too excited and at the same time serious about this 4 pounds in 8 weeks pill.
So much better in Impact. And then we had to go back to the grandma's house. Oh, God. They had some stupid stuff with his grade school teacher, and then he was screaming. And
I only wrote down 2 things. First of all, she said AJ was shy. That outraged me. I've been watching this man perform on this show for almost 6
well,
years.
No, he said when he was in 3rd grade he was shy. Very possible.
Well, apparently he grew out of it because it was so absurd it annoyed me.
I was shy in 3rd grade. And look at how bombastic I am today.
Can we get a 3rd grader back? I just wrote down that was a bullshit sketch.
I wrote, I've never seen a worse television program. I laughed at how stupid this was, though, so I guess that's a victory. Plug the pay-per-view again. It is time for the Chicks Gauntlet match. We had Angelina Love and Tracy starting. Then Miss Jackie came in, and, of course, since there was Tracy, a worker, and Angelina Love, the porn star, she beat the shit out of Angelina Love. Suplexed her all over the place. It was great. So then it was, let's see, Velvet Sky in next, and then Christy, and, of course, who works together in this match?
Christy and Velvet. That was something to see.
Bad. ODB was in next. She tossed Tracy, Roxy, Laveau, and then Awesome Kong. So anyway, they all eliminated Kong.
Yeah. Kong dumped a bunch of girls. They went to commercial, of course. They came back. No one had been eliminated. However, the other 3 remaining chicks all ganged up on Kong and eliminated her.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, hold on, everybody. You all knew they'd fuck this up eventually. Seriously. You all knew that at some point they would fuck up Awesome Kong. Well, it has begun.
It may have happened.
Yeah.
So then, after that, they almost immediately dumped Miss Jackie. And it suddenly occurred to me that the winner of this match is going to be either Roxy the Voodoo Chick or ODB.
Yeah.
Jesus. So they had a match. It was, of course, because it's TNA, it was a pinfall, a regular singles match. ODB won. She won with a move wherein she climbed the ropes. She clutched her enormous fake breasts to indicate they are hard, firm, and rock-like. Then she left off with a Thez press, striking Roxy in the face with her enormous fake rock-like breast, knocking her unconscious and pinning her. I'm not making this up.
True.
It is all true. And then she won, and she did whatever it is that ODB does. The crowd loved it. Okay, I guess I can't complain. I still don't know what she is. I just don't get it.
Well, here's what confuses me.
Okay.
ODB is apparently the number 1 contender.
You would think.
We've got Awesome Kong and Gail Kim on Sunday.
Right.
Okay. So that either means that Gail Kim is winning again, probably be via pinfall, and moving into a feud with ODB, or Awesome Kong is winning the title and feuding with ODB. Or these rankings are all just bullshit. Which actually the latter is...
Brian, if I was going to make a guess, I would suggest these rankings will be forgotten in 7 days.
Remember when they had that, they had a match back when they had the 2-hour pay-per-views. It was a ranking match, X Division. And the order of elimination was the rankings.
I do remember this.
Yeah.
Because the angle made sense because Jerry Lynn got disqualified first, and you thought, okay, he's going to beat all these other guys in front of him and get his title match.
No.
They didn't do that.
No. They just forgot the rankings completely.
Just ignored it.
The thing I noticed during this match was we were only 55 minutes into the show.
Oh, God, that was a sad moment.
It was the longest hour of my whole entire life. They also said it was a landmark victory for ODB. Landmark!
Sure. I just know that this, of course, happened after that earlier horrid promo with Robert Roode and Miss Brooks. And when Miss Brooks came out, Don West noted the look on her face and said it contained everything from concern to uneasiness. That was a broad range of emotions.
Then we had Crystal interviewing Tomko. Said he was sick of everybody. Angle, Christian, AJ, it all ended up tonight. And then to the break!
Up next, I'm not making this up, Tomko answers Kurt.
Yes. Tomko came out. Kurt and Karen came out. This was the top of the hour segment. That's how important it was. Kurt demanded Tyson make his decision. And Tyson basically came out and cut a promo and said, listen, Kurt's been talking about an army. And the army is about whether or not you take a bullet for your fellow man. He said, listen, I would not take a bullet for you or Christian. I would only take a bullet for myself. Therefore, I am going out on my own. And Kurt said he respected that and shook his hand. And then as Tomko tried to walk away, Kurt tried to beat him up, but Tomko grabbed him by the neck and shoved him off and said next time he was going to break that puny little neck permanently. And Tomko actually was great here.
Oh, yeah. Tomko's the man.
Tomko, I never, ever in my life thought I would say this. He is way too good for this company.
Yeah, absolutely.
He needs to return to WWE immediately.
It's definitive that he is
above this. He's above everybody in this company.
He is, yes.
He's like the only guy. Think about this. Angle, Booker T. I'm sure they have some other stars. Joe, Christian.
AJ.
Tomko is the only fucking guy in this entire company that stands out.
That's cool. Yeah.
He's the only person in this entire company that stands out. He stands out above every one of their so-called main eventers. Everyone in this entire company is on the same level, and Tyson fucking Tomko is like the one guy that's above that level. How? Why is he here?
Okay, here's my theory. Because they do not consider him a main eventer, they're not devoting any of their time to him, therefore they're not wasting their shitty talent. They're not writing his shitty material.
Well, they will soon, and he'll be in just another geek.
Once they start treating him like a main eventer, he will be just another geek.
If he could get out right now and go back to WWE, it would be the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, I'd be fine with this. Could you put him on ECW? That'd be fine. Put him on any show. He would fit in just fine. Yes, please. Rescue him. Someone save Tomko. Two things. One, this is going to sound kind of funny after what this whole speech we just had, but when Tomko came out, I just wrote down, remember when Tomko pinned Joe?
Well, yeah.
That was a bad idea. And two, after watching...
Remember when ODB pinned Gail Kim?
That was more recent. So, yes, Tomko pinned Joe like a year ago and nothing ever came of it. But after watching Kurt Angle, the TNA champion here, get manhandled and abused and cower in fear of Tyson Tomko, legit question, who's the worst champion, Kurt Angle and TNA or Rey Mysterio a year ago on SmackDown? They both never beat anybody. At least Rey was portrayed as a hero.
Rey was only beaten up by bigger men.
Angle's beaten by everybody, and he's a geek.
Angle's pummeled by jobbers.
So would that make Kurt Angle the worst world champion of all time?
Oh, Scott Hall.
Scott Hall
Retired guys are beating him up.
Retired drunks are beating him up. Kevin Nash, crippled men he's afraid of.
Yeah, Kurt Angle is a significantly worse champion than Rey Mysterio was on SmackDown. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But we cared about Rey. No one cares about Angle in this company here. Then we had another stupid segment at the house. They interviewed Mr. Butterbean, who was a wrestling coach, and it was bad.
There was lesbian jokes and urination jokes,
no
and
one
it went
cares.
down from there.
More from Gainesville. Oh, we had a commercial and came back for more.
Yeah, okay. So they had this segment, which, as I noted, had lesbian and urination jokes. Commercial break, back, more of the same stuff, but they were now moving on to the masturbation jokes.
Yeah.
Jesus, God, this show sucked.
And we had more. Crystal interviewed Black Machismo and the Guru. This was fine. I laughed at Machismo making his 80s references. Just the fact that the Guru exists and they think that he's over made me laugh.
I must confess, yes, when he brought up John Stossel and he called the Sanjay Dutt Balea, I will concede, yes, that did make me laugh. I was mistaken earlier. There was a time in the next 2 hours when I chuckled.
Then, of course, it wasn't over. We had to have Christian walk up and cut a promo. And this, everybody, this was where I got mad. Now, I said many weeks ago I was not going to get mad at this show. I was going to make fun of it. I was going to have fun at their expense. I was going to poke fun at their stupidity. I was not going to get angry at this show. But during this segment, I did, in fact, get angry. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Christian walked up, and he said he had to talk about what Tomko had done. If you'll recall, Tomko said, I'm going out on my own. I'm my own man. I'm with neither of you. And he throttled Kurt Angle, and he threatened to break his neck. So Christian comes up and he says, I'm proud of Tomko for taking that stand, but now I need to know where AJ stands. This, I don't even have the words, how angry I got. I stopped the show, I just stopped everything I was doing, and I asked you this question. Because this is not a making fun of TNA question. This is a serious question. You've got Tomko, who's 6'6", 290, 300 pounds, tatted up, fucking goatee, and he just throttled the world champion and threatened to break his neck. Christian doesn't care. Christian does not care that this man is not on his side. Yet, the entire show is built around everybody caring what side AJ is going to be on. AJ. This is not the AJ Styles of 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. This is the AJ Styles of the beginning of 2008, who, as Vince mentioned, is a complete and total dork, who pissed his pants on the wrestling team, who's locked himself in his grandmother's house, who's acting like a total geek. He's dressed up like a chipmunk. He's dressed up as, what's the other thing he dressed up
turkey?
as? A turkey. He loses. He's a fool. Yet, everybody wants to know whose side he's on. Why? Why? Why would the entire hook, after 4 weeks of programming, this is the go-home show. The entire show is built around a cliffhanger, where at the end of the show, we're finally going to get AJ's decision, and he goes, you're going to have to wait for the pay-per-view. Who cares?
You're not inclined to pay money to see who the world's biggest dork will side with?
This is not even just a who cares for the fans. Why would Christian care?
An excellent question.
Why would Kurt Angle care?
Why would they want this goof on their team?
Why would Jeremy Borash care? Why would AJ Styles' family care? Why would any person on the earth give a flying fuck who this total goofball is siding with?
I've had 24 hours to reflect on this, and I have yet to come up with a good answer.
This made me so angry. This is like so beyond illogical. Everything they do makes absolutely no sense. And this took it to a whole different level.
Most things they do are merely...
They are fighting the hook for this pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. The first pay-per-view 2008 is everybody is fighting over the single biggest loser on this fucking show. He is such a loser that Eric Young is giving him advice.
Indeed, yes.
The fucking Motor City Machine Guns have beaten up Team 3D. Shark Boy is still out there in a neck brace, his whole body taped up. He's still fighting. He's got something. The biggest fucking loser on this entire show is the guy everybody's fighting over, and we're supposed to care. That is the worst angle in the history of wrestling.
It probably is, yes. As I was starting to say, most things they do are merely nonsensical. They just don't make sense. This is anti-sensical. It's the exact opposite of what anyone would think. And yeah.
That's when I just ended on the show.
You made it farther than I did.
And you know what else I was thinking? We're not going to review SmackDown, but I'm going to make mention of this right here. That Royal Rumble commercial in the subway, that is so much more effective than 8 hours of free primetime television over the course of the last 4 months in TNA. I guarantee the Royal Rumble subway commercial alone has sold more buys than TNA is going to get for probably the next 3 pay-per-views.
Probably true.
The commercial.
Yeah.
Not any of the angles leading up to it. Just the idea that all of these guys are going to be hitting each other and beating each other up, perhaps in a subway.
Yes.
And that Michael Buffer may get a super kick.
In, yes.
I can remember the entire commercial. Like every moment. Ray doing the 619 around the pole and hitting Finley, and Mark Henry tearing the fucking thing apart like he's King Kong in the subway, in fact.
Umaga sitting down between the old people.
Yeah, I remember every moment of that commercial. I cannot remember a goddamn thing from the last 4 weeks of primetime first-run television that TNA has produced. And then this is their big angle to hook you.
Yeah,
Who's the nerd going to choose?
No, you know what? No, nerd is not the word. You used the best word earlier. Loser.
Loser.
He's a loser.
Who's the biggest loser in WWE?
Oh,
that's actually hard.
Paul and Delaney, but
no, he's at least a fighter.
He at least has spunk.
He has spunk. Who's like just the biggest loser on this entire show?
Michael Cole.
That's a pretty good guess.
That's a good off the top of my head.
Just say Michael Cole. Imagine if the hook for the Armageddon pay-per-view was whose corner is Michael Cole going to be in?
No one would buy that, Brian. No one would buy that
Think
show.
about that. Whose corner is Michael Cole going to be in?
So let's... Yes, if Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy were both desperate to have Michael Cole in their corner.
Yeah, that's the hook for the Rumble.
That is what they're doing. Yes, that is exactly what happened in TNA.
So anyway, more idiocy from the house, then some more wacky stuff, and then finally we got the heavyweight gauntlet.
Not that it matters.
No one cares.
Actually, I must say, the X Division gauntlet, when I mentioned earlier there was 60 seconds of good wrestling on the show, It was in that match when it came down to PvP.
I should actually talk about the X Division Gauntlet. Sorry, everybody. There was an X Division Gauntlet. And Sharky, as noted, has a neck brace, his knee taped, his ribs taped, his quad taped, a bandage on his head, and a bandage on his fin.
Yes, that's the key, is on his fin.
His gimmick is he is constantly hurt.
It's
great.
Not just hurt, broken.
I did laugh.
And he comes out and he does spots and then sells.
So we had a bunch of stuff, and it came down to Senshi, who was quitting, against Petey Williams. And Petey hit the Canadian Destroyer and won. So
for 60 seconds, there was great wrestling on TV.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Then we had a challenge for a drinking contest at the pay-per-view. No one fucking cares.
It was still the best thing on the show.
We had some more stupid stuff from grandmas. Nobody fucking cares. Booker and Sharmell did a promo. Nobody fucking cares. Then we had a heavyweight gauntlet with Booker and James Storm starting. Robert Roode and Eric Young were in. Of course, commercial break. Then 100 men were in the ring.
When you're a commercial, the population in the ring had doubled.
Yeah, think about this, everybody. There's a fucking clock on the screen, okay? There's a clock on the screen, and they're counting down the intervals. And the intervals are always at 1 minute. There's a 1 minute interval, a man comes in. There's a 1 minute interval, a man comes in. So we have 4 men in the ring. They go to a 2 minute commercial, and when they come back, there's seriously like 10 men in the ring. How does that happen? I don't know. Perhaps I have been abducted by an alien. Perhaps
TNA is so shitty they have broken the laws of space and time.
They have. So then we had Booker and Steiner working together, who are of course baby faces. And Don was like, "My God, did you ever think we'd see them working together?" I guess we were supposed to remember their feud in 2000. That would have been 7 years ago. And
8 years ago now.
Nash stumbled down to the ring. Somehow he's in this gauntlet, and then there was a bunch of stuff, and I don't even know how Nash got eliminated, now that I think about it, without being killed.
All right, it came down, long story short, Kurt Angle tried to ambush Christian as he was coming out, but he's Kurt Angle, he's a dork, so it didn't work. So Christian came out, and he kicked his ass, but they were fighting outside. So Christian's not technically in the match yet. It came down to Joe and Nash in the ring, who are teaming up on Sunday. So Nash shook his partner's hand and left the ring, eliminating himself.
How did I totally forget this part?
Because you didn't care. Because you didn't care.
There you go.
Now, I cared because it was stupid. So now Joe's in the ring alone. He's kind of looking at Nash, kind of nodding and saying, okay, maybe this guy's all right. Then Christian slips in behind him, schoolboys him, and pins him.
I will actually tell you why I didn't know. I'm going to read the final line here of this report. So anyway, I quit when recapping this match. I'll let you know what happens when we're down to 2 men. So, after a bunch of stuff that would require someone who could type 500 words per minute to recap, Christian cradled and pinned Joe.
There you go. Yes.
There's your report.
Yeah, Samoa Joe, who's pushed way deep down, miles and miles below the glass ceiling now, because Christian pinned him with a schoolboy. I always go back, Brian. I know you want to end this show, but that last skit at AJ's house, this is the one that made me angry.
The one prior to the last one on the show?
The second to the last one on the show.
All right.
The one you glossed over a second ago. This is the one that made me out loud when they went back to the house. I merely said, Christ, as loudly as I could. So they did a bit here where there was the priest. The priest was there, and he was praying for young AJ, and he's praying for his soul. And AJ opened the door, and he looked at this priest with a funny look, and he looked at his family members confused, and he said, we're Baptists. And I thought, holy crap, that's funny. That's comedy. They did something right. And then the priest pointed, and he said in as loud a voice as possible, that's not AJ Snipes. And that made me so angry. Because the one time they had stumbled upon a joke, they had accidentally found humor, they had to shit on it.
Yes. They ruined it.
They ruined it permanently.
As the story of TNA is they ruin everything.
They do.
They ruin...
What's the opposite of a Midas touch, where everything you touch turns to bile?
Well, it's Medusa.
I guess so.
Everything they look at turns to stone. They ruin everything. Every possible thing they do. And, of course, the end of the show was AJ making his decision. He said Christian. Then he said no Angle. Then he said I'll decide at the pay-per-view. Who cares?
Woo.
Who cares?
This fucking show.
Let me make a prediction here, everybody. Because
I better know what you're going to say.
I'm a genius here. I will tell you what's going to happen at the pay-per-view. It is going to be Kurt Angle versus Christian. The entire match is going to be built around waiting for AJ to run in. Which, of course, means no one's going to care about the match.
Which means the match is not going to suck.
Nobody's going to get in the near falls because they know the match will not end until AJ runs in. AJ is then going to run in. Something's going to happen. somebody is going to get pinned, and we're not going to know whether AJ meant to do it or not. It is going to go off the air, and they will say, we'll find out on Impact.
That's a good guess.
So, if you are thinking of buying this pay-per-view to find out what decision AJ is going to make, I urge you otherwise. Don't. Don't buy this pay-per-view. Do not waste your money, because you ain't going to find out. They will tell you on TV.
Here's my guess, which is close and is not, unfortunately does not lead to the awesome rant you just did. But I predict AJ will come out. He will say he is teaming with one guy, and then turn on him.
Could be. But I think that then they don't have a cliffhanger for TV, and TV is more important.
That's right.
So I predict that he will do a belt shot. One guy will duck, and he'll hit someone else. But did he or did he not?
Was it on purpose?
We won't know.
What a shitty fucking show.
And they'll go off the air like that.
This
That's
is
what
the worst goddamn show I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. We've said this many times, but it's true.
And you know what? I keep saying it. I keep saying it, and they keep rearranging my worldview. I keep having to readjust. I have to keep lowering the bar.
Yeah.
It's astounding to me. How can this be so bad like this every week? How can it still be on? How can they sit back at the end of the day and say, you know what? That's a good show we just did.
Vince, everyone asks this question, okay? The answer is because they think it's good. No, they do.
I can't accept that.
I can't either, but it's true.
I can't.
Vince,
when I say I can't accept that.
Hold on a second. You must accept it. Because there is no other explanation.
When I say,
if you think something is bad, you change it.
Great idea.
Okay, so the fact that this is now going on 13 months tells you that the only explanation is they think their show is good. That's it.
There was a point during this program where I simply said in a calm, rational voice, let's turn this show off and never watch it again. And I know you thought about it.
Oh, I do. I do all the time.
You thought about it.
We have talked for 46 minutes about this show. We've talked for the amount of time that is in a full hour of TNA with commercials taken out.
It weakens me. It makes me, I feel like less of a man after watching Impact.
It's such a bad show. It is such a bad television program.
It crushes my soul.
I don't watch television, but in the television I have watched, I've never watched a show worse.
This is so much better than, for example, Small Wonder, which was the show about a little girl who was a robot.
Dude, all those commercials that we watch, like for One Tree Hill and shit like that.
I would watch a One Tree Hill marathon before willingly sit down to watch one episode of Impact.
Those shows all look so bad. They all look so horrible. But when you watch them, you realize that at least there's a story to all of them. Like so-and-so fucked so-and-so's girl.
Yeah, we got more out of the One Tree Hill commercial where the guy's mad because his friend slept with this girl, and he says, at least I was there for her. That made me howl. That is something no guy would ever say.
But at least
yes.
His motivation is clear.
In 2 lines of dialogue, I knew there was a story here.
Yeah, and you understood. It made sense.
As unrealistic as it was, I understood it.
It made sense that in his brain he felt like she needed him. So he fucked her, right?
Right.
Okay. Take TNA, for example. What could the motivation possibly be for wanting AJ Styles on your team?
I don't know. Right?
I would want this man so far away from me, I would not want him in the same fucking building as me, because he's going to fuck something up. It's patently clear from watching television. And everybody knows except the 2 main eventers.
Woo!
Who would have to be the 2 dumbest men on the show.
Well, the biggest loser is AJ. Loser B would be Kurt Angle.
Actually, I would guess that think Kurt and Christian are bigger losers, because they want him.
Kurt's a bigger loser than Christian.
That's true.
I want to argue you're getting kind of metaphysical there. Is Christian a bigger loser than Kurt? Excuse me, if Christian's a bigger loser than AJ, because who's a bigger loser, the loser or the loser who wants him? But regardless, Kurt's a loser too.
Yeah. But we have a guest, as we often do, so let's check that out right now.
Saved message.
Here we
Message
go.
received at 5:21 p.m. today from 2047.
This man is just
Hi, Brian. This is Ian. About tonight's pay-per-view. I guess Rick Steiner's not a part of that. I don't know why, but is Rick Steiner really not wrestling in TNA wrestling? Sorry to bring it up again, but is he not on TV anymore? Thank you. Bye.
What?
End of message.
Wow.
To repeat this message,
We'll just delete that baby right there.
That was Ian, everybody.
He's persistent.
He is clearly Rick Steiner's biggest fan.
He would have to be.
He is it, I am sure. He is deathly concerned that Rick Steiner may appear in TNA and he would miss it.
There's a chance that Ian will pay a visit to every single show. I just have this funny feeling. He just keeps calling.
And you haven't called him back, have you?
I sent him an email and said Rick Steiner is through with TNA, and he apparently didn't believe me.
He sent you a reply. You forwarded it to me.
Did I?
Yeah, he was in denial.
That's right.
He thought,
God.
I think he said that his picture's still on the website, therefore he must still wrestle for the show.
Exactly.
But apparently he cannot watch the show. He must be alerted to what Rick Steiner is doing.
It's very important. It
There,
was Rikishi, wasn't it, last time? Who was it?
I think it was Luger.
Somebody else.
I want to say Luger.
He was.
It was the same thing.
Yeah. Impact. No. TNA. Pay-per-view. Sometimes I get confused.
That was some awesome radio.
Sometimes my brain short circuits.
I've been watching TNA.
So, this was the first time I ever noticed that the dude doing the opening video package knows this is shit.
He's given up.
He was so over the top and absurd during this video package.
First of all, the opening video package was to the classic Wagnerian opera Flight of the Valkyries.
Well, there were a couple of different songs there, but that was in fact one of them.
Yes, which is impossible to take seriously at this point.
And there was a line in there where he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Haunted by failure."
I like the last thing he said, "The ghosts of 2007 will not go away."
Lovely. That's a horrible thing
That is
to
a
say.
horrible thought, but it was funny when he said it.
LAX against Lance Hoyt and Jimmy Rave. They were talking about no man-on-woman violence being allowed in TNA. We had that Latino Nation mystery person out there, and good guys ran wild, and bad guys got the heat very, very briefly. It was an all-action sort of match right here, and Hernandez went for the border toss on Rave, but Christie cut him off, and Hoyt went up top for something and failed, and so Hernandez climbed up to the middle rope and gave... it was not Hoyt, it was Rave, the super border toss, and pinned him. And, of course, it was all set up for the post-match angle, in which the Latino Nation member hit the ring, gave Hoyt a low blow. Christie tried to hit a low blow of her own, but the mystery Latino had no balls. It ended up being the vampire's wife, who proceeded to do a striptease as the fans chanted Shelly. We had... somebody asked the apt question, why did she voluntarily unmask?
It was just time. It doesn't make sense.
If she didn't want people to know who she was for so long, why does she no longer not care? Why does she now not care?
Why doesn't she pretend that her balls hurt?
I don't know.
I don't have an answer for this.
It's a mystery.
I don't know. I've never been a fan of hers, but she looked good tonight, I must say.
She did look better than when she was the vampire's girlfriend.
Yes, or every time I ever saw her in OVW.
That's true.
This was her highlight.
Which is actually funny because I've noticed in TNA, all of the girls, it's actually, I noticed it most with Sharmell, looks far better in WWE than in TNA. They've, I don't know what it is. And Christie, I think, looked a lot better in WWE. And WWE just seems to do a better job with their women than TNA has done. But not in this case.
Except for Awesome Kong.
Awesome Kong was never in WWE.
I'm just saying that WWE has never done anything with a woman that awesome. Okay, we'll get to that later. But, yes, I've asked this before, but
this was all in reference to what they looked like.
Well, you said... Okay. Brian, you're right, and I'm moving on.
Well, what did you think I said, though?
I don't care. You're right. I'm moving on. So
help me out here. What did you think I
Dude.
said? Just make this easy. Maybe no one
you
else
were talking
understands.
about their looks.
Yeah.
I was not. That's all that matters.
So it's just foolishness.
Yes, I'll just be stupid because I don't want to talk about this fucking subject anymore.
All right.
Okay. I've asked this before. I'm going to ask it again. I don't know why LAX works so goddamn hard for this show, but they do. God bless them, because they're awesome.
Everybody worked hard on this show.
Everyone did, but they in particular, they for a brief second they were hot, and now the company's done nothing with them, and they continue to work hard, and I applaud them for that. That's good. They, you know, always give me funny looks.
Well, that's because everyone on this entire show, they don't do anything with them. They all work hard. I didn't see anything more in LAX than, say, the Motor City Machine Guns.
There's still hope for the Machine Guns. They haven't been tossed to the back yet.
I see.
There's still a chance for the Machine Guns for upward mobility, whereas LAX is just where they are, and that's where they will always be. So, yeah, this is a very fun... This would have been an awesome 8-minute match, but they crammed it into about 3.5, and so it was just a bunch of cool stuff. We talked about Shelley already, and I did have... The one final note is that As the match began, Mike TNA was talking about how awesome Jimmy Rave did in the tag team gauntlet match. I watched that match. I don't remember Jimmy Rave doing anything.
I have no memory of it.
So, yeah, failure.
James Storm, Eric Young drinking contest throughout the night. It was, I don't know what it was. Some of it was funny because James Storm is funny,
yes,
but most of it was a failure. Stupid music played, and I think in the end, James Storm won. So he gets to choose a match of any kind with Eric Young at the next pay-per-view. Again, who cares?
I don't know. We also judge these segments, I guess, as they come up. This one, I had no idea what was going on, but it amused me because James Storm was awesome, particularly when he claimed to have been to the moon. And when they questioned this, he said, yes, in 97.
Yeah.
There you go.
Crystal interviewed AJ saying the world wanted to know.
Hondurans, Russians.
Whose side was he
English
going to choose tonight? Said he promised to choose a side. He would do so later. Tomko said no, he needed to make his decision right now. And then Tomko left, so I don't know what that was all about. They had a tag match, and if AJ fucked it up, Tomko said he'd kill him. AJ said he would let everybody know sooner or later. Crystal had to act like she cared, and no one is that good an actor.
I have no comment on this particular promo, Brian.
Yeah. I should have saved some of those earlier songs for later. Kaz and Black Rain. This was a slightly better than average match, mostly because it really picked up there at the end. Black Rain can hardly do anything. He tried. He did a flying high cross. That was the highlight.
And that was a double high cross, so then they just landed in a heap.
Kaz made a comeback. People were into it. Rain cut him off. Hit a lazy pedigree, which he didn't bother to hook the arms. Then went for a reverse superplex. Kaz hit his finisher, which neither announcer seemed to know was his finisher, and pinned him a little bit better than you'd think. And then, like I said, actually I just said that, the post-match, Kaz stole the mouse.
Yes, he rat-napped Misty.
What's this about? TNA asked. Kaz taking possession of the rat. Money.
That was the answer to his own question.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. The best way to sum up this match is just basic and inoffensive. It was there. It killed 6 minutes of time, and they moved on. However, what's notable is that Don West, who's far from the world's greatest color commentator anyway, absolutely imploded in this match. The first thing he said he was talking about the rat. He said it wasn't worried about it just scratching you or clawing you or biting you, but who knew what diseases it might have? Well, perhaps we should test that rat then. Later, he was talking about running up the ramp. He said this required athletic ability.
Yeah.
Which is the lowest standard for anything I've ever heard in my life. And seconds later, he proclaimed, and to his credit, this is true, but it still sounded weird, Kaz is kicking Black Rain in the ass.
Yes. Don West. What a fool. Borash interviewed Kurt and Karen. Borash now thinks he's part of the family.
Yes, Borash is a heel. I missed that part.
Angle said, you're not. He's, I'm trying to figure out,
anything?
Well, I was trying to figure out why Angle didn't want Borash in his family, because Borash is far less of a fool than AJ. And the whole story is who's AJ going to be with. So, Kurt has strange standards, and I'm not sure what they are. And it should not be a mystery.
And you should stop thinking about it.
So, Karen said she could not put the fate of the world title in the hands of her husband. That's wonderful.
Who happens to be the world champion.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Then they did some comedy, which was shitty. I wrote they did comedy, which was shitty, and I meant to put the quotation marks around comedy, but I put it around shitty, which makes this sentence much funnier, actually.
The comedy was shitty. Well, regardless, you were right the first time. The comedy was shitty.
The first sentence is how I would have written it, and the one I wrote was how Wade Keller actually would have written it. So, there you go.
That's comedy.
She told him to worry about the match. She'd take care of business. He said every time she did that, she fucked something up. She said, trust me, and bailed.
The usual gang of idiot stuff.
Angle sent Borash to follow her.
Who cares?
Then we had the most awesome match I ever saw in my life this week. Gail Kim and Awesome Kong. For the women's title, it was no DQ. They brawled all over the place. It was, from a wrestling standpoint, Vinny marked out last month and proclaimed it like the best match in the history of man, when really the wrestling was 3.5 stars or so. This match, wrestling-wise, was significantly better. This was probably 3 3/4 stars, maybe even 4 if you really want to be generous. Best women's match in many, many a moon. And it didn't really have the crowd wasn't into it like they were last time. And in fact, there were moments when Gail kicked out and the crowd was upset They wanted to see Awesome Kong win.
There was a small portion that was cheering for Kong, yes.
Very different dynamic than we had last month. There wasn't all that. There was a moment where Gail was tied in the Tree of Woe and she was being beaten, and you could actually hear a couple of women screaming in terror. That was awesome. So anyway, they did the whole long match, and we had a great finish, which was Kong, since it was no DQ, got mad at the ref for not counting a pinfall, and she powerbombed him. So we got a second ref run in, and then she ended up getting mad at him as well. So as she lifted him up for a powerbomb, Gail rolled her up from behind, and the ref ended up falling on top of Kong and landing in position to give a quick 3 count. So Gail Kim pinned her, but they didn't kill Awesome Kong here. And in fact, afterwards, they did a post-match where Kong just destroyed her, and actually it was more of an even fight, which was even better. And all the black shirt geek referees ran out to break it up, and Team Prawn, for absolutely no logical reason, except that they were not booked on the show, and they wanted to get them on TV, ran out. And sadly, Kong did not destroy them, but this feud must continue. This match was awesome. And thumbs up to these two girls.
When you say this feud must continue, that's not just a wrestling cliche, that's a command. We demand this feud continues. We must see them wrestle more. It's always great. They did crowd brawling. Crowd brawling almost always sucks. This time it was awesome. Even when they went around the fatties everywhere section of the crowd, there's a lot of large people there in Orlando, and they showed them on television. That was disappointing, but regardless, the fighting was awesome. And they hit 1,001 big moves. Awesome Kong is the scariest wrestler in the world.
Awesome Kong should be the TNA champion. I seriously determined that in this match.
I know we ask this every show, but how can the same company that books Kurt Angle the way they do book Awesome Kong the way they do?
Well,
we were interrupted.
I am more information on Rick Steiner. He is now a school board member somewhere. I don't remember where, but he's now a school board member and he's not wrestling on wrestling shows anymore. So again, he sent me an email. Thank you. Bye.
Ian called.
Well, I hope you all heard that. That was as loud as I could get the volume. Ian called with an update on Rick Steiner. He's not wrestling anymore.
No, he's on a school board.
He's now a school board member, and as Ian added, somewhere.
He can't remember where.
Not quite sure where. But, Ian, if you're listening, which I know you're not, thank you for the update. It is greatly appreciated, and I will make sure to send you an email. Where the fuck were we before that?
We were discussing the greatness of Awesome Kong.
Called.
When she powerbombed the ref, people were roaring with joy.
Oh, I remember what I was saying. I was in the middle of something when he called. Awesome Kong should be the TNA champion. I've determined that. She is the most dominant wrestler in the entire company. She is the scariest wrestler in the entire company. And she should have a match with Kurt Angle and beat him, I've determined.
Clean with a spinning back fist.
Yes, I don't even care.
No.
Just have her win.
I'd be absolutely totally fine with that.
And they did fuck something up with her, which was called the Battle Royal on Thursday, when 3 impotent girls, literally, in fact, threw her out of the ring, which was ridiculous. And the more I got thinking about it this weekend, the more angry I got, because it was a ranking match, and she's already the number 1 contender, so she didn't even have to be in that goddamn match at all to get eliminated in the first place. God, they're so stupid.
Well, the good news, Brian, is I'm sure the rankings set that evening have already been forgotten, so don't worry about it.
No, it's too late, though. They threw her out of the Battle Royal, which was stupid.
Well,
she should never even have been in there.
That is true. They are stupid, but the heat was not as constant as it was last time, and I'll agree there was not the dynamic where every person in the building wanted Gail Kim to desperately win, but they still loved this match, and when she finally did win, there was a wall of white noise that hit the ring. People were so happy, so this is a rousing thumbs up. It's the best thing in TNA by leaps and bounds, and thank God for them.
This is the best program on this program, by a significant margin, in fact. Then we had Borash following Karen to the men's bathroom where she seduced AJ, began kissing him, and said, if you do what you should do tonight, there will be more of that later. And so, yeah, there you go.
There was also comedy with ODB.
Oh, that's right. She was in the men's bathroom.
Ha ha!
Jim Mitchell cut a promo in an amazing purple suit with Mesias standing in the background on what appeared to be a Broadway stage. I have no idea what was going on. I know there was talk of Chris.
There was talk of Chris Abyss, yes, and the camera panned back and forth as Mesias just stood there. This was silly, this was hokey, but you know what? I loved it. It's a Jim Mitchell promo. I can do nothing but love these. So Thumbs up.
Chris Abyss faced Mesias in a match. It was 1.5 I gave it. Here's what all you need to know. There was a chair. There was a barbed wire chair. Somehow this was not a no DQ match, but none of this was a DQ. The best part of this match.
I know what you're going to say.
The best part of this match is Abyss brings a chair into the ring. The ref says, no, you can't use it. Abyss lodges the chair between the first and second rope. The ref says, no, you can't use it. Abyss goes over to beat on Abyss. The ref goes to get the chair from between the top and the middle rope, but he cannot dislodge it.
He's too puny.
So what does the ref do? Does he call for the bell and disqualify him? No. The TNA referee literally throws his hands in the air, and the match continues.
Yes.
And meanwhile, the announcers are going, well, what's the referee going to do? And meanwhile, the referee was doing nothing. So then they said, well, sometimes you have to let it go a little farther. And I thought, well, you just killed the concept of your no DQ match there a couple of matches ago. And once again, the same geeks that managed to get that awesome Kong match, so awesome, booked this shit. So despite the disqualification rules and the non-no DQ stipulations, the finish was still a Mesias hitting his finisher on Abyss onto a barbed wire chair and getting the pin.
It was actually even better than that, as right before that, he spat red mist on him. So then when Abyss went on this chair, and because he's Abyss, I assume it was legit barbed wire or he gigged, but there was already red liquid all over his face.
Yeah.
He's dumb.
This was a mess. And then afterwards, this was also awesome. Mitchell gets in the ring and says earlier he had told Chris that naughty little boys burn in hell.
Actually, I must cut you off here. Abyss at one point went for the thumbtacks, but he found that Mitchell had the bag already. So he tried to chase Mitchell. Mitchell ran up the ramp with a bag. Mesias cut off Abyss, and the match continued. Later, Mitchell comes back down the ramp. He has the black bag in his hand again. He sets it down on the ramp, and he walks away. And I'm thinking it's a trap. Like, Abyss is going to go get the bag of tacks, and it's going to blow up in his face or something wacky. But no. They do the match. The match ends, and then Mitchell goes and grabs the bag. So why did he leave it there?
Because he's dumb.
Because he's dumb.
So he said, little boys, you do not behave, burn in hell. And he said that Chris was going to burn in hell. They opened up the little black bag, and there was gasoline in it. They poured this gasoline all over Abyss, who had to pretend like he was trapped in the middle of the ring.
Yes.
Not even trapped in the corner like the girls. He was trapped in the middle of the ring.
He could not move or defend himself.
No. And knowing Abyss, I would bet $5 this was probably real gasoline, and he's a dipshit. So then Mitchell pulls out some matches and lights one, and he holds it up. He's about to light Abyss on fire. Black shirt security comes down to save the day. What do? Why, they take the match away.
They confiscated the matches, yes.
And then they left.
They left him in the ring with Judas Mesias and Jim Mitchell.
It's a good thing he did not have a lighter.
Yeah,
or 2 sticks.
Or another back box of matches. They didn't even frisk him.
No.
They just took the one in his hand.
They took the one match and went away. And then nothing happened. So apparently Mitchell did not have a backup thing of matches. So everybody in this entire segment was an idiot.
This was bullshit, everyone. This was bullshit.
Then it was to the back.
Then to the back for a highlight of the show, the Kevin Nash promo.
Kevin Nash is now a Zen philosopher. He said some stuff.
I don't even know how to describe this.
And then when he basically spoke for at least 30 seconds and literally said nothing. And then Crystal said, what does that mean? And then he said some more bullshit about how he put asses in seats and won championship belts. And then he said, so what you doing later? She goes, I don't know, I'm kind of hungry. And he said, cool. And then they cut away.
So awesome. So impossibly great. This is the best thing he's ever done, really. We laughed at this. We replayed it
Why
over and over.
does he have to get in the ring?
I don't know. That's not my idea.
If he never got in the ring, he'd be the best character on this entire show.
Kevin Nash, the backstage slug, is the best character TNA has. Just a guy who sits around getting paid to do nothing and enjoying it, and then laughing about all this.
Yes.
It's great. It's always funny. And putting the moves on the hot interview chick.
Then we had Robert Roode and Tracy against Booker T and Sharmell. They had an average match. The guys worked pretty much the entire thing, then the girls tagged in for the cat fight and that sort of deal. And the finish saw Tracy try to roll up Sharmell, but Sharmell kicked out and bonked Tracy into Roode. And then Sharmell rolled her up and got the pin. It's a good finish. Match was fine. And then, of course, we had the post-match bullshit, which actually ended up not being bullshit because the place went nuts. Roode screamed at Tracy. She finally slapped him and started pummeling him. Roode shoved down the refs and was screaming at her in the corner. Sharmell could take no more. She walked up and tapped Roode on the back, and he responded by turning around and punching her right in the face. She took an impossibly great bump, sold it like she was dead, and Roode sold it like he had no idea who had tapped him on the back and who he had just punched. And he bailed out of the ring. He backed up the ramp. He was screaming, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Booker got the big bug eyes and ran down there. We had Don West leave the booth. Announcers took the headsets off. They sent out all the geeks to take care of her. She was so great. First off, the bump she took was unbelievable. Then when she came to, she just sort of sat up holding her jaw and then stood up and walked off on her own with a little bit of help. And she is the best seller in the history of this business, I've decided. Everybody gave her a standing ovation and chanted her name.
Yes.
For a fake punch by Robert Roode.
Yes.
That's how great this was. People believed this. And they don't believe anything in this company. They hate everything. Chris Abyss. Let me tell you something about the Chris Abyss match. All that bullshit with your name's Chris and you've got a secret and all this other crap. That match had the least amount of heat of anything on this show. The Samoa Joe match we'll get into in a minute, but the point is the fans did not want to see Joe win. And this was after Joe was fighting 2-on-1, and his partner had bailed on him. Because Joe is a whiny babyface that is booked to be a geek, and nobody cares. Everybody bought this thing with Sharmell. Mm-hmm. They thought she really got punched. And if not, they were able to suspend their disbelief, which is extraordinarily hard to do in TNA. That she was awesome.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
As they did everything right with the security coming down and Don West leaving the booth, and they, for once in TNA's wretched existence, they actually gave something time to play out. This is not a to-the-back moment. They let us, up to the point where Sharmell was up and kind of wobbling in the back, they stayed on this, and that's a quality thumbs up for them. But the truth is, this would have worked even if they had screwed it up, because the instant he punched her, everyone went, oh my God, he just punched Sharmell in the face. And she collapsed, and they were mortified, and it got better from there because she just sold it like she was dead. Robert Roode was horrified and petrified of what he had done, and ashamed, and also terrified of Booker T, who was no doubt going to kill him. Booker T was so apoplectic with rage he could not actually move for several seconds as he just let what had happened set into his brain, and then he finally charged the ring, and everything about this was great.
If you remember when Chris Daniels opened the briefcase and it said, "You're fired," and Chris Daniels is a trained actor, and he wept, and no one gave a shit. No one cared. They didn't believe a goddamn moment of that. And they believed when Sharmell got punched, knocked on her ass, and then just got to her feet and held her jaw and walked out. And later they announced she had gone to the hospital with a jaw problem, Mike Tenay said.
That's the crack TNA medical team.
Thank you, Dr. Tenay.
I do have to say, however, Robert Roode and Tracy Brooks are apparently still a team, I'm guessing.
Well, I don't think so.
I hope not, because during this match it started to really piss me off how just inconsistent the whole thing was. She would refuse to cheat, then she would slap Booker, then she would refuse to slap Booker, Robert Roode would yell at her, so she'd slap Booker again, and my God, it got infuriating.
And we had Crystal interviewing Christian, who said he would win and he did not need any help, which means the last 4 weeks of television were pure bullshit. And we had Tenay giving us a stern lecture about not beating women. Team 3D and Johnny Devine against the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal.
It was even better. They gave the lecture about not beating women, and he said, we're all very concerned with this, Sharmell, and we only hope for the best. Eric Young and James Storm are having a drinking contest right now, and they immediately cut away, wherein the joke for this was that James Storm got drunk and pissed his pants.
There you go.
Comedy.
Team 3D and Johnny Devine against the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal. For those wondering what was going to hang above the ring, well, perhaps you recall that Johnny Devine has possession of the X Division title belt, which is held by Jay Lethal because he's the champion. Yeah. Anyway, so this was Ultimate X. We had the Motor City Machine Guns, who have broken hands and can't climb the cables. We had Team 3D, who's too fat. And we had Johnny Devine and Jay Lethal as the only guys that could climb. Johnny Devine, on no less than 3 occasions, nearly died. At one point, he was hanging from the cables, and the machine guns tried to swing him so that as he was swinging, he would do a full flip, which, for those of you that have ever taken gymnastics, he was basically trying to do a flyaway off the bar. He failed.
Oh, God, did he fail.
He landed upside down on his head and neck. I thought he had died.
I don't know what a flyaway off the bar is, but I'm sure it was not this.
Well, that's why I said he failed.
He failed.
So then he tried to do he was sitting on someone's shoulders, and one of the machine guns gave him a reverse Hurricane Rana. Again, he landed on his head. They held up the dreaded X, which was fake, and then the referee got wiped out. So it's a good thing it was fake, because, God knows he actually would have gotten hurt on that, and he would have died by the time this match was over. And then, of course, the third one was the most absurd spot. The ladder is directly underneath the belts. There's nobody else around. He's going to climb and get the belts, but what does he do? He moves the ladder away from the belts, and he begins to climb. In fact, the ladder got tipped over. He was sent to the outside where he was supposed to crash through 2 tables. Instead, he bounced off the tables and crashed on the cement. That is the unluckiest man who's ever walked this earth. Team 3D too fat, so they did a bunch of comedy spots where they tried to get the belts via jumping and via a spot where they tried to play chicken. Bubba actually tried to scale the ropes and fell right on his fat ass. Crowd chanted, "You're too fat." And it was all I gotta say is, as far as Ultimate X matches go, this was Kennel from Hell. But
Oh, that's too strong, but
well, as far as
it was the worst Ultimate X match.
Which would be Kennel from Hell. Would it not?
That
was the worst Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, but it's so far bad that it's not fair to compare that to this.
But still, that was the worst.
This was Bossman and Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Anyway, this was the worst Ultimate X match they've ever had. With that said, I gave it 3.25 stars because I was wildly entertained throughout the whole thing. I would have appreciated if Johnny Devine did not die. But, yes, there you go.
The only thing I do not like about this is that some of you will note, if you do not see the show, Brian pointed out that at one point Johnny Devine was on a ladder. You see, in this Ultimate X match, in which the winner is the one who gets the belt down from the thingy, there was a ref bump. And Team 3D got a ladder out from under the ring. Apparently this is foul play in the X Division. Mike Tenay said there was an unwritten rule that you would use no ladders in this match.
An unwritten rule, so they had to bump the ref.
Yes. So TNA gets the ladder out. There do a bunch of ladder spots happen, and shortly thereafter, everyone's down except Team 3D. They set up the ladder. Devon climbs up to the ropes. He grabs the belt and unhooks it. Then Bubba disposes of the ladder so they will not get caught, leaving Devon hanging up there on the ropes with the belt.
By one arm.
That was actually impressive for the big fat guy. They woke the ref up. The ref looked up, and he saw Devon up there with a belt. And Bubba waved to indicate there is no ladder here. And the ref said, "Okay, you win." And they rang for the bell. So, yes, we have the first fuck finish in Ultimate X history.
Yep. That was the Kennel from Hell of Ultimate X matches.
On second thought, you may be right about that.
It wasn't the second worst. It was the worst.
It was the worst, and it was stupid at one point.
AJ Styles, AJ and Tomko against Samoa Joe and Kevin Nash for the tag team titles. This match made me sad because, well, AJ Styles is an idiot. He's a goof. He's a fool. He's made a fool of on every single show, and it's impossible to take him seriously. And every time he was in the ring with Samoa Joe, it was so unfathomably awesome.
Why, yes.
And I cried at how great AJ Styles is, and how great Samoa Joe is, and how useless they are in this company. As I mentioned before, Samoa Joe. First off, in this match, Joe and Nash were working together, even though they hated each other on Thursday. In fact, they're working together great here. They were all happy, and they did two heat sections. So first off, Nash made the hot tag to Joe. Joe ran wild. He got cut off. Joe finally goes to get the hot tag back to Nash. Nash jumps off the apron and walks to the back. So Joe's partner has left him.
He screwed him.
Joe is all alone. He's been abandoned by his partner, and he's fighting 2-on-1. And it was actually great when it was 2-on-1. But Joe makes a cover, and Tomko breaks it up, and the fans chanted, "Thank you, Tomko."
Yes.
They did not want Samoa Joe to win this match.
No.
Because no matter how great the psychology is, when you are booked as a whiny, complaining babyface, nobody cares about you.
Well, here's the other side of that. If Joe had pinned AJ on that move, that meant the tag team champions would have been Joe and Nash. And that means we would have another tag team champions that fight each other.
The crowd didn't care about that.
I think they did.
That's every team they've got.
Not AJ and Tomko, not to that degree.
They're still fighting.
They're bitching. They're not actually trading blows.
No, people did not like Samoa Joe because he's a geek. Because he cries and he whines on every show and he acts like a pussy. That's why I don't like Samoa Joe. It's bad booking. So, that was the end of that match right there. And, of course, it was to the back. We never found out anything about Joe. We never found out anything about Nash. We never heard from them again, in fact. It was just AJ and Tomko hitting their finisher, getting the pin. 2.25 stars, thanks to Nash. And if it had just been Joe and AJ, this would have been out of this world. But
yeah.
It's not.
What can you do? We've discussed this, Brian.
James Storm won the beer drinking contest.
He certainly did. This is the most unfunny one of all. This is the one, that's right. This is the one where they played some wacky poker game to see who would do a shot, and then somehow Eric Young lost this and had to do a funnel shot, and so as Jackie distracted Eric Young, Jerry Borash, and Letitia by flashing them, yes, this distracted Letitia. She cannot take her eyes away. James Storm spiked the bong.
All women are lesbians.
James Storm spiked the bong, and Eric Young passed out, and he won the steps. So all that for this. There you go.
Then we had a wacky interview with Borash and Kurt, and there was actually funny comedy in TNA, and I'll tell you why it was funny. Borash said Karen had tried to seduce AJ. Angle said, "What? Like Mrs. Robinson?" And Borash said, "I don't know who that is." I laughed. Because they were making fun of how bad their own writing is. They have references from 1965 that nobody has any idea about. And they were making fun of that.
I see.
That was funny.
See, his whole line was, "I don't know who that is, but yes."
Yeah.
I don't know if that changed anything for you. But
Funny.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Anytime there's something shitty about TNA and they make fun of it, and God knows maybe they weren't making fun of it, but they did. And it was funny.
That makes it even funnier if you think about it.
Then we had Kurt Angle versus Christian for the TNA title. Another sad match, mostly because it was so great. They had a really, really, really good match. And they were having this great match, and they finally get to the near falls at the end, and they're doing all their switches and ankle locks and kicking out of big moves. Nobody cares. Why, you ask? Well, no AJ yet. And for 4 weeks on television, all they had been saying was, AJ is going to run in during the main event. So, of course, there was a bunch of near falls. You could see people looking towards the back. That's classic. So they killed their own match with their own stupid booking. And finally, AJ comes out, and Vince wins the bet. AJ jumped up on the apron. He gave Christian a big hug, but it was a swerve. He turned on him. He gave him the springboard elbow, and then Angle hit the Angle slam for the pin. AJ is now with Kurt Angle. No one knows where Tomko is. Christian got screwed. Christian was totally the babyface in this match. There were a lot of chants of instant classic and that sort of thing, and he was cheered coming out, and Angle was booed very heavy. But match was 3 3/4 because of everything at the end that took it down a notch. But up until that point, these guys were having an awesome little battle. And TNA!
It's easy to forget sometimes how great Kurt Angle is because he's never portrayed that way. and even his pay-per-view matches are not always great, but this was one of the great ones. And Christian's also just, he's also oh, Christ, I just died. This was a good match, and I can't care because it's TNA and it's stupid bullshit finish. And thumbs up for the show. Get the replay, everybody.
What has happened to you?
I don't know. I just stopped caring.
You just had a fail.
I did. This was an epic fail for Vinny. I'm sorry, folks. This is why people say things like, hey, you should send in this is a radio station in town that's looking for talent. You should send in a tape. I'm like, yeah, I'll get right on that.
You should do that on live radio.
I should, yes.
TNA. Yeah. As noted, the show was above average, which for TNA means it's still very bad, but above average. I figured it out, by the way, when they do the opening video package. Oh, I just want to say something else. SmackDown had an opening video package that was about 9 minutes long.
Yes.
Success. If I would have missed that show last week, I would have no questions about what the hell was going on. Impact does their 1-minute video recap, and I have no idea what's happening. And I watch the show every week, religiously.
All I know is during this Impact recap, they also said there was a new year coming and 12 more months, and I wanted to cry.
And by religiously, I mean via hellfire. So, I also figured out that when they do the opening video package and it ends with a slogan, this one being Prince for a Night, they have a title.
Yes.
They've titled each of their programs. A title!
and the titles are not great.
They figure that these creations are of such value that they require titles.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't even understand.
The titles range from the quality of Prince for a Night to rankings by Gauntlet.
Oh, God. So Crystal tried to interview Robert Roode, and he said he'd tried to explain it since Sunday, but it was an accident. He said if you wanted to blame someone, blame Booker T for not protecting Sharmell. She was like, don't you have any remorse? And he said, no, this is pro wrestling. Shit happens. He said tonight we would see a match we would never forget, Robert Roode versus Miss Brooks. And he said if we thought Sharmell's broken jaw was bad news, wait until we saw this. I thought there was a man-on-woman violence ban, but apparently he was unaware of it, which
no one told
doesn't
him.
surprise me in TNA.
No, this is awful. Interview chick sucked when she asked Roode. She tried to say with a straight face, don't you have any remorse? In the way no human being has ever said before or ever will again. It made me howl with laughter, and that's bad.
Senshi has apparently given his 30-year notice because he's still on the show. Elix Skipper and Senshi versus Motor City Machine Guns. They had a fun little match. They hit their doubles enzuigiris on Senshi for the pin. God bless these men for working so hard in the middle of what is such a shitty program.
Yes, the Machine Guns in particular are great. I don't know how long they've been teaming. I know they've been in the indie scene for a while, but they wrestle like they've had 9,000 matches together.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Then Christian ran down and tossed Skipper and Senshi and cut a promo saying he had a problem with AJ. He said he lived with the fact that he wanted to stand on his own 2 feet and be his own man, but he could not live with the fact that he'd cost him the world title.
The prestigious TNA World Championship.
Oh, yeah, the TNA World title. I always laugh when I hear that. He said tonight he was going to take it back, and I guess he's supposed to be babyface now, but he was still delusionally saying that he was responsible for all of AJ's career, including the times when he was not even in TNA.
Yes, I don't get it. Who cares?
We need the script for this show. Somebody get the script. We need a new script for some hot thespian action.
Come on, dear Dixie, come through first.
Chris Harris was backstage bitching to Jim Cornette about God knows what. And Cornette said, if you want more TV tonight, I'll give it to you. So then Joe stormed in to bitch about being set up about something. I'd already forgotten what happened to the paper.
I don't know.
Nash apparently bailed on him, and no one cared.
And Joe blamed Cornette for this. Harris is whining about getting TV time, so Cornette books him against Judas Mesias, who is a heel. You would think this would make Chris Harris the babyface, and he whined more. I know we get on this every week, but he's the worst babyface ever.
The Chris Harris story is actually hilarious because he has, I guess, been released from TNA. They announced on the website.
Can't imagine why.
The WWE part of this, I think the story was that WWE had great interest. In fact, WWE had discussed him a couple of times, and that was about it. Mm-hmm. So the belief is he was floating a story like Abyss did a couple of years ago, where Abyss ended up getting re-signed for a better deal with TNA, and they just canned Chris Harris.
Yeah,
so
I can see that too.
Better fucking hope that they actually want him, or he's going to be a Ring of Honor superstar for the foreseeable future.
You will see him at FIP shows till the end of time.
That's right. So, then we had Borash and AJ arriving with Angle and Karen, and they said tonight AJ would become Prince Styles. I just like that Jeremy Borash was driving the rig, and he was also holding a microphone. Yeah. Amazing how this works. They plugged TNA Global Impact, which is next Thursday, your 3-hour adrenaline rush. Borash was trying to give advice to AJ backstage. AJ wanted to know what Christian was so mad about. What should I do? Borash told him to ask Kurt. Angle told him to forget about it. AJ said, well, I'll ask Karen. She said there was nothing to worry about. He said, well, if you were me, what would you do? And she said, I would do my hair and then hide. Ha ha! So then Tomko came in, said he wanted to make sure AJ was still alive. AJ wanted help, but Tomko said he was on his own, and that was that. It was not as horrible as most Angle Karen segments, but... Nor was it good. It existed. It was 90 seconds of stuff. Mesias and Chris Harris... Jim Mitchell did commentary. I have no memory of this match. Oh, Mesias blew the red mist, hit the DDT, got the pin. His finisher is called Straight to Hell. Awesome.
Crowd chanted, "Let's go, Judas."
That's right.
Because everyone hates Chris Harris, which I guess is irrelevant now.
He is a babyface. Well, he was. To the back! Crystal was with Miss Brooks, who had to act, and it was poor.
Somewhere in here, I wrote down, "I just gave up." It was the second time, not in a calendar year, but in 12 months, that I have just given up on a Robert Roode angle.
Crystal said the idea of her having a match with Roode was ridiculous. She said, "What am I supposed to do? Run and hide?" And I thought, well, yes, in fact. She said no. That's what Roode wanted, to scare people. And Crystal said, well, he is scary. And Tracy said, yes, I'm terrified. So again, why don't you run away there, baby? So she said the only way she was going to get out of this nightmare was to go to the ring tonight and face him head on. Who writes this? Because I need somebody to explain any of that.
Every word. Yes, it was about her second sentence, and I thought, you know what? I'm tired of thinking about this. It sucks, and I'm just going to think about something else for the 2 minutes she's on TV.
This was the stupidest speech I've ever heard a person say. It made no sense.
No, none of it. I don't know why Robert Roode is so great, and he gets the worst angles and speeches and skits
Think
ever.
of how great he is that he manages to shine in this shit.
That is remarkable.
BG and Kip James against Sanjay Dutt and Petey Williams. Petey has new music. He's basically the new Chris Masters. Think about that. Kip James was wearing normal trunks, so yes, it got to him.
He was bothered because everyone called him gay.
Everybody made fun of his gay shorts, and apparently he didn't think they were gay. And once everybody made fun of him, he wore normal ones.
Yes,
this man amazes me.
He thought the ones with the cherries all over them were perfectly manly.
Well, just the fucking ones with the strap
the Tori
attached
Wilsons,
to the leggings.
Yes.
Who could possibly wear that and think that that looks cool?
I don't know.
He totally doesn't understand why Shawn Michaels wore those shorts.
No, he thought they looked cool on Shawn.
God.
You're talking about the same man who has wrestled matches in pigtails.
Well, Shawn used to have all the wacky hairdos.
Oh, Kip probably thought it looked cool, though, is what I'm saying.
Well, the point was that Shawn did it for heat.
Right.
He did it for the homophobes in the audience to throw shit at him.
Yes.
And Billy Gunn apparently thinks, as a babyface, this will work for me.
Yes.
No. Plus, you're not Shawn Michaels.
That is the other flaw in his plan.
Shawn Michaels could probably wear those trunks today and get away with it. Because he's fucking Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels once won the world title in the main event of a pay-per-view in brown pants.
Yes.
You know why it worked? He's Shawn Michaels.
Well, that one didn't work. Let's be serious now. So anyway, they had a match, immediately went to commercial. When they came back, they had the heat on Petey, who, thanks to the script I remembered, was a babyface. So Scott Steiner snuck down during this match on tiptoe.
This is the best part of the whole show. Scott Steiner, 300-ish pounds, tiptoes down the ramp, carrying his briefcase. He places it on the apron. He takes Petey's briefcase, tucks it under his arm, and tiptoes back up the ramp, and nobody spotted him.
No.
Awesome.
The only good thing in the match, by the way. Finish was bullshit. Petey went after Steiner. Dutt was all alone. Comedy hijinks. And then he rolled up Billy and kissed SoCal Val. I've never seen so many different angles in a single match that involved a commercial in my whole life.
There was the Steiner-Petey angle. There was the Dutt, SoCal Val, Jay Lethal angle. And there was the ensuing breakup of whatever the hell they're calling the New Age Outlaws these days.
BG and Kip.
Yeah, BG and Kip. They had a fight
and
as
a
well.
wrestling match.
And a wrestling match. And, yeah, there was a lot of bullshit here. The only other thing to comment on is that Kip James started the match with Sanjay Dutt. And seeing those two in the ring together was something else.
Fuck, seeing Petey in there with him, something else.
Also true, yes. He's big, they're small.
Ridiculous. So then Kip cut a promo saying next week he wanted to know who BG's partner was for the tag title match. Boy,
Yes.
I can't wait for that one.
This was a few segments earlier after the Mesias match. Mitchell said next week we'll find out Chris Abyss's secret for sure. So these are the two hooks for next week. Find out Chris Abyss's secret, and find out who BG James' tag team partner is.
I can't wait.
Wow.
Bet you anything is.
All your friends.
Actually, we have the taping results. Who is his partner? Probably got to be Kip.
No.
It's got to be Swerve.
It is a swerve. It's his dad.
Oh!
Well,
I'm
Bob.
fine with that, actually.
and Kip was also fine with it, so
Although again,
they're all friends again.
to ask the question, why the fuck would you choose Bullet Bob? He's fucking old.
He's really old.
Good luck winning the titles, BG, you
dumbass.
dumbass.
Apparently because his goal in this tag team title match is to entertain the fans.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So, Crystal interviewed Christian and wanted to know what he was going to do with AJ when he found him, and Crystal said, well, come and we'll find out. And AJ and Borash were hiding under a table, and then Eric Young came up and gave AJ advice. horrid.
There's a joke here about AJ to make him even less cool. Now he is also smelly.
Yes.
I wonder sometimes why these men even show up to work.
Team 3D and Johnny Devine were in the ring. Bubba said they beat the X Division in their own game, and against all odds, they won a Machismo and Machine Guns versus Team 3D and Devine in a hardcore street fight where if they won, they'd give the X Division belt back. That's the Motor City Machine Guns and Lethal. And if they lost, the entire X Division had to disappear forever. Yes, all the guys have to go home and never come back. Much like Chris Daniels will never be back, except probably the next set of tapings, I would guess. To the back. Joe stormed into Nash's dressing room where Nash had a baseball bat, and he said he was a businessman. He didn't fight for free. If Joe wanted a match, he needed to pony up $100,000. Nash said he didn't screw him at the pay-per-view. It was a wake-up call. Said Joe was an angry little child, needed Nash's wisdom. Then he gave him the bat and told him to take a shot. Joe said, I should kill you. Nash said, yeah, but you won't, and they immediately cut away. Immediately.
Nash was actually taking a step towards the door, and they cut away. It wasn't like they were even standing there. It was in motion.
They didn't even end the segment when they cut away.
And they went to commercial, yes. I don't know what happened here, but there was a point where Kevin Nash was listing all his possessions and his houses and his cars, and that part was funny.
This is an above-average impact, everyone.
Oh, yeah. This is above par. Better than the norm.
We actually had the best segment on the show next. A sit-down interview with TNA and Booker T. My God, Booker T was awesome here.
Yeah.
He said he blamed himself for the broken jaw, but he said soon she would be out of the hospital, and he was no longer going to take it out on himself. He was going to take it out on Robert Roode, and it was just unbelievable. Booker T was the man.
He acted like a guy whose wife had her jaw broken.
By another man.
It was the only thing in TNA in probably their entire existence that was not overdone. It was subtle. He was upset. He was pissed off, but he was not hysterical. He was not enraged. He said he was concerned for his wife, but he knew she would be okay, and then he was going to hurt somebody. It was great.
Then Roode came out and cut a promo and said that it was Booker's fault because he put his horse-faced skank of a wife in the ring with Roode, knowing full well that anything could happen. He said he broke her jaw, so what? He said Booker should be thanking him because now that her jaw was wired shut, she might lose some weight. He said, speaking of overweight skanks, Tracy, it's official, you're fired, he said, finally. Tonight
that made me so happy.
Do something he should have done a long time ago. She came out, and I don't know why she was fired.
At that point, the whole point has been that she can't afford to lose her job. Well, now her job's gone anyway.
So why'd you come out?
I don't know, but I'm glad at least that stupidity is gone.
She began weeping through a promo. Don said it was hard to watch, which it was.
It was, and the fans felt so badly for her that they were screaming, wah!
They were making fun of her.
Yeah.
Don't ever make that noise again.
Okay.
So she wanted to know if physically abusing women made him feel great about himself, blah, blah. She finally called him, and I quote, a prick named Bob. We were all supposed to be blown away by this revelation or something like that.
I don't know.
He told her to shut up. Out came Cornette, and he said the match would not be allowed. He said Roode was a disgrace to the male species. He was disgusting. He said he should suspend Roode or fire him, but he was not going to because he wanted to see what would happen when Booker came back and tore him apart piece by piece. And I've asked this question again. I've asked it about Gail Kim and Awesome Kong. I'll ask it again. How can they fuck everything up and make this segment with Cornette and Robert Roode so impossibly great? Actually, the answer is because Cornette and Robert Roode are impossibly great.
And Booker T's also involved, and he was great.
Yes.
So this whole program is so ridiculously above the par of what
it is amazing.
The company's doing, yeah.
It's completely amazing that they've got a segment like this and the stuff with Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, and then the rest of the shit. It's unbelievable to me. So, we ended up having Tracy leave the ring, but Robert Roode's biggest fan attacked her. Cornette tried to make the save, but Roode held him off, and Morgan came down. And Roode eventually announced that this was Tracy's replacement, Miss Peyton Banks. Apparently related to MVP, in fact.
Oh, sure, perhaps. The last great thing that Robert Roode did here was when Cornette came to try and break up the fight, Robert Roode fended him off. And how did the big burly pro wrestler fend off the middle-aged tubby guy? He used a chair.
Yeah.
Even against this guy, he would not have a fair fight because he's an evil dick heel. Awesome.
AJ did a skit out in the amusement park trying to avoid Christian, and Borash told him to get ready for the coronation. Karen wanted him there, and so AJ ran off.
This was really stupid. If you're trying to hide from somebody, don't go on national TV, pull up your mask, and say, it's me. Yeah. I think Solomon Rushdie would agree that's a bad way to avoid someone who's trying to kill you.
LAX. It's taking its toll on me. LAX against Lance Hoyt and Jimmy Rave. Vampire Girl was there with her enormous breasts. And then, of course, Dawn was immediately said she was 100% women, which is inaccurate, in fact. So, they had a all-action match that amazingly did not have a commercial. Homicide killed Rave with the Gringo Killer, which actually looked very scary on first viewing and not nearly as scary the second time around, thankfully. He is not a dead Gringo. Rave did, however, sell it like a king, so it was awesome.
It was 2 minutes of fun with a very scary ending, and then they went on to whatever's next.
Tomko killed Sharkboy. Tomko should be the champion. Screw these other geeks. A total squash. Sharky, as noted, is Colin Delaney, and I'm fine with that.
I would just like to point out that they showed an extended clip of Sharkboy's entrance video that included a clip of what appeared to be Sharkboy riding Jurassic Park at Universal Studios. He was all alone in the giant raft and he goes down the slide into the water. That's a great entrance video right there.
Karen was in the bathroom putting a dress on. AJ walked in. She's always in the men's bathroom for some reason. It's like ongoing storyline that will never have an ending. So she said she wanted to spend more quality time with AJ, kicked out Borash, gave him a pep talk about how he needed to go out there tonight and fly. You fly, AJ. You soar. And so he ran off to get his tux. So Kaz did a promo with the mouse. He said if Goldust wanted it, he could come get it. The mouse is named Marlena.
Oh, yes.
Ha ha!
I will admit, this didn't make me laugh, but I'm one of the very few people who does, in fact, remember 1997.
Kurt, Karen, and AJ came out in their fancy outfits. There was a throne there. They introduced Prince AJ Styles. Angle coronated him or whatever. Put the crown on his head. Is that a word, coronated? Who cares?
Yes.
Hey, man, he said. Then, of course, Christian finally came out. And this segment was just going on forever. And he finally came out, thank God. Had a big argument back and forth on the ramp. Crowd chanted Princess AJ. Christian wanted to know if AJ was ready to man up. They got in a big argument back and forth. And I don't even know. Oh, Jesus. Cornette then
This was a mess of a segment.
Long story short, he signed Styles versus Cage versus Joe. If Joe or Cage win, they get a title shot. And if AJ wins, he either gets a title shot or Kurt does not have to defend for 2 months.
So, yes.
This segment was such a failure. I was reading from my notes, and I have no idea what's going on.
Beyond that, AJ's been part of the Angle Alliance now for one show, and they are already hinting at dissension. Will AJ take a title shot against his mentor, Kurt Angle?
Will AJ fuck Karen? Is the big...
Or will he fuck Karen?
That's the bigger issue right here.
It's been one show.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's been one show. Everybody hates each other, no matter how many shows it's been.
There you go.
As soon as they get together, they immediately hate each other, because that's how things work in TNA.
The shittiest company on earth.
Vince Russo has no friends. Therefore,
Fairly true.
Everything he writes is about people that have no friends. Vince Russo obviously had major issues with women as a young man.
I suspect they've continued.
Every single thing he writes is about issues with women. It's very, very patently obvious when you watch this show and watch the old WCW stuff what the major issues in Vince Russo's life are. Much like when you listen to the show, you know the major issues in my life, which would be you.
Yes, I drive you crazy.
That's right. So then we had the main event, which was Gail Kim and Awesome Kong for the TNA Knockout title. Match actually went on last. Thumbs up to TNA.
Indeed.
Fancy ring intros, that sort of thing. We did get a goddamn commercial, which was unacceptable. And match ended up about 8 minutes of TV time. It was good. It was far from their best match of all time.
Yeah.
They did put Kong over like King Kong, actually. She did a bunch of near falls at the finish, and then Gail tried a diving Hurricane Rana, but Kong caught her in midair, hit a double bomb, and then a sit-out awesome bomb for the pin. Not only did we get a title change, we got a clean pin. I'm fine with this airing free. What the fuck? 1.5 million viewers got to see this. That's good. You built up Awesome Kong as a monster. You can even do a fourth match on pay-per-view where Gail gets her rematch. Everything's fine. Finish was great. Gail sold it like she was dead. I watched it and I thought, we need Awesome Kong against Kurt Angle. I've said this for a long time.
She'd kill him.
Just do the fucking match.
She'd kill him.
Just put the TNA title on her. Who cares? She's the best fucking monster in this entire company by a huge margin.
Yes.
And she is believable enough that I think that she could have a match with Kurt Angle and people would buy it. And I think it would be awesome. But we're probably never going to see it because they're retarded.
Because they are, in fact, retarded.
What does this company have to lose? I asked this question. What is this? I wrote about it in the newsletter. I hated China as the Intercontinental Champion. Because this was in the middle of a period where you had so many great fucking wrestlers, and she could not back it up in the ring. She was no good as a wrestler, and they put the belt on her. Mm-hmm. Awesome fucking Kong. She's awesome. This fucking woman could hang with every dude in this company. I firmly believe that. And thus, she should be in that division. She should win the world title. Why not?
You may get
publicity. What does TNA have to lose? And you'd have the first woman to win a male version of a somewhat important, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, world championship.
To anyone who says they would lose credibility, shut the fuck up.
You have no credibility to lose.
Yes.
None. If Christy Hemme won the world title,
thumbs
fine.
down.
This is a 270-pound massive woman
who kicks ass
and has a back fist of death.
Yes.
This woman believably could compete with the men, and I would be totally fine with that. Fuck.
This is kind of a brief tangent.
It actually makes me angry that they're not to go in this direction.
Well, they're not cool. A brief tangent. At that same party we were at last night, Corey asked, "Hey, is Kurt Angle going to be on Pros vs. Joes? That'll be great." I said, "Yeah, that will be great." And that's just, further reminder that they have Kurt Angle and are making him the second biggest geek behind AJ Styles.
That's right. I want to watch him in Pros vs. Joe.
I can't wait for that.
Because Angle will be a dominant alpha male.
Exactly.
In TNA, he's a geek. He's a mid-card geek.
Mm-hmm.
That angers me.
It's pathetic and sad.
But again, everybody, above average Impact.
It was.
This was above average for total nonstop action.
Especially with the finish at the end, there was no doubt that Awesome Kong was the queen, because she'd killed Gail Kim, left her laying. There was no kick out at 3 or right after 3. There was no interference. There was no running. There was just a winner and a loser, and the winner was this girl.
Boy, what a difference Impact and Global Impact were.
Why, yes.
Just kick Impact off the air, for God's sake.
Please, immediately.
Well, we'll recap Impact, then we'll talk about a little bit about Global Impact. There ain't much to talk about, but we'll contrast it. Impact was, as usual, a poor show until the main event, which saved it. It opened up with the usual 1-minute recap of last week's show, in which they recapped 75 angles.
It was bewilderfying. It was mystifying.
Bewilderfying?
I may have said that. I meant bewildering. Mystifying, stupefying, and Sharkboy was in it.
I would like to add that the name of this, by the way, was A Fish Out of Water.
Fish Out of Water.
We later found out why. A bunch of stupid Sharkboy skits. The first one of which was funny, and then it just became overkill, which is the story of TNA. I noticed that during the video package, when everything was like 2 seconds long, some of those 2-second recaps were actually exactly as long as the original airing the week before. Yeah, 2 seconds long.
That's entirely possible.
Segment with AJ, Borash, Karen, and Eric. I hated it, so I didn't write anything down about it.
They were fighting.
Then we had, there was one thing of note. Angle said there was going to be a 3-way tonight with AJ, Christian, and Joe. And if AJ won, that meant Angle did not have to defend the title for 2 months. And Borash said, well, what happens if he decides to take the title shot? Because that was also his choice if he won. And Angle said, nope. AJ already made up his mind. And
that was one of the running subplots in the show. So, yes, they're a dissension in the Angle Alliance. They've been together for 10 days.
I just thought it was funny that they actually hyped this up last week, and I had no memory of it.
That's
none.
You may as well laugh at the show every week then.
Then we had the Motor City Machine Guns doing a promo with Jay Lethal. They're talking about the X Division match at the pay-per-view. Apparently now it's no longer they have to leave TNA forever. They just have to not have the X Division anymore. And Shelley said if they won, they got to institute a weight limit for the X Division, which would be 275 pounds. Keep that in mind, by the way. So not only that, they said they'd do weekly weigh-ins, and then Team 3D came out and cut a promo, and they noted that in that match, falls would count anywhere on the Earth. The Earth! So they wanted a handshake, the babyfaces shook, and then the bad guys turned their backs, and the good guys jumped them, which normally would be absurd, but Team 3D is hated so much that the crowd went nuts for this. So I will say this worked. Thumbs up.
Well, it may have worked. It was still a bad idea on paper. It worked in the end. They got lucky.
Many things are bad ideas on paper, and some things work.
Well, this is one of them. All I know is that Shelley came out, and he was discussing how he was saying they were going to win the tag titles, himself and Saban, and then he points to Lethal and says, you can win the world title. You pinned Kurt Angle. And Don West immediately said, upset of the century. He may as well have said, it was a complete fluke, no one knows how it happened, and it would never happen again.
Crystal interviewed Abyss, who said that the secret was going to emerge tonight, and he said, no, it will emerge over my dead body. I'm still trying to figure out who could possibly care.
Here's what I've written about this segment. Remember WWE, Crystal? She was hot. I miss her. That's my review.
The Don West deal with Sharkboy, he said that every week Sharkboy got in the ring with a different part of his body injured, and then they gave us a history of the injuries, and then they got the video package at, apparently, SpongeBob's house.
Sure.
In the bottom of the sea. Sharkboy was there in a bed, under a blanket with fish all over it. There was a doctor and a nurse stroking him. The doctor's name was Dr. Fishman. Get it? Fishman?
And the nurse was Nurse Bass.
The funniest thing was the doctor's name in real life is Fishman. I can't remember who this was. It was somebody from Spike TV, like Bob Fishman. And apparently somebody got a funny idea, and the rest is history.
Who could that be?
They had all sorts of fish-related puns, such as, life as Sharkboy knows it has certainly floundered, and I know things smell fishy. There were family members.
Back.
There were family members there in Sharky masks, and the doctor finally said, I think Sharkboy may have finally reached low tide. And then everyone cried. Borash was there selling this like it was completely legit.
Yes.
This was funny.
I spent, it was, 2 minutes long. I spent all 2 minutes hating it. And then the instant it was over, I was like, holy crap, that was great. This was a great segment. What's wrong with your phone?
Somebody's calling. I don't know who it is.
Answer.
No. So yeah, this was, we watched it twice. It was funny. It was absurd, but it was funny. Tomko and Eric Young. Tomko won quickly. James Storm ran in afterwards, beat the crap out of Eric, and they're having some sort of match on pay-per-view involving drinking and something or other. I don't know. Anyway, so, what?
I'm laughing at you, but it's true. No one cares.
No one cares. So, something happened with Storm. He got thrown outside or something or Tomko threw him outside and then put the belt on Eric. And anyway, all I remember is it was a good segment because they put Tomko on a level above everybody else yet again. He killed the man. He outsmarted the heel. He was a good guy to the babyface, and he walked out on his own. Fine.
Awesome. The negative here is that no one cares that Sharkboy is apparently dead. They were indifferent to this. But yes, Tomko's the man, and I'm happy with anything that makes him look like a star and not your typical run-of-the-mill TNA goofball. We'll talk more about Tomko during Global Impact.
What, does Sean's number start with 799?
I don't think so. The area code? Obviously.
I'm trying to figure out who that is.
No,
it's 206 and then it's 799.
Oh,
we don't need to fill out the rest of that, everybody. I don't know who that is, but I think I've seen that number before, and I think it's Sean or
maybe
somebody. Anyway, I'm sure you all care. You care more about that than you do about this segment that we just saw. Then we had Crystal dragging Dustin into a room, and he freaked out. This was like 1 second long.
He's still looking for work.
ODB against one of Team Prawn, I believe Angelina Love. They had a way too competitive match. ODB is the number one contender. She should have just killed this girl. Instead, it went back and forth, and Angelina got the heat. And actually, no, I take that back. ODB got the heat. She's supposed to be the heel, but she was the babyface. And so when Angelina made a comeback, everybody booed. And this was a failure in every way. The wrestling itself was fine, but the whole idea of it and the booking of who was the babyface and who was the heel and the idea that Angelina got so much offense, just bad. So then ODB won. Then she cut a promo afterwards and said Kong had, I wrote eaten, but I meant beaten, every broad in TNA except for her. And the fans were actually so into ODB that it was just, I don't even get it. They're so into this woman.
That's the best way to put it. I don't understand it.
They were seriously going wild, and she has the strangest charisma. I don't get it, but it works, so
it does
more
not,
power to them.
It does not affect me. It clearly affects the live crowd in Orlando. I don't know what's wrong with those people. But every time ODB's on TV, I just think, why is she on TV? Why is she so popular? Why do people enjoy her so much? But
go ahead.
I have not learned. I'm sorry, you distracted me with that. So up next was Crystal was backstage. They said, to the back. Crystal was going to go interview Kevin Nash. I know this because she was walking through the hallway, and she turned to the camera and said, I'm going to go interview Kevin Nash. And she peeked the door open, and Kevin Nash was in there giving a pep talk to an unseen person. He was telling this person that it was their time, They knew what to do. All this stuff, and then the door opened a little wider, and it was Samoa Joe, Nash's hated rival. And Joe nodded, and Joe and Nash touched knuckles, and Joe left, and Crystal gave a weird look at the camera. This was stupid. This didn't make any sense. Did you check your voice message?
I love when I leave you on your own. You just flounder.
I am far more interested in your phone call than this show.
Like Sharkboy. No, they didn't leave a message.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So, where were we?
The next Sharkboy segment.
Oh, this is again in the deep blue sea, and now Chris Harris was there. Why? I have no idea. Why was Chris Harris there? Because he was there complaining about being there. So what did he go there for?
I don't know. All I know is Chris Harris is there, right? We set the scene. They're in SpongeBob SquarePants' house. Sharkboy is laid out. There are people in shark masks sweeping everywhere. Chris Harris looks around at this and says, "This is ridiculous."
Yes.
And then he says, "He's in a coma, so what?" So, the ridiculous part is not that this man in a shark mask has a family that's in a shark mask. That's perfectly normal. The ridiculous part is that people are supposed to care that he's in a coma.
Yes.
This failed.
So then
LAX showed up.
LAX showed up and said they were down with the Fang. Tribute to DCW, I think, myself.
Sure.
And anyway, this went too long. Here's a good example. This went too long, and it was already starting to get not funny. Then we had Kaz versus Senshi, still on his 30-year notice. Kaz had the mouse. They had a competitive match, as always is the case with the man who's leaving. Kaz won. And then the best part was when they had the heat on Kaz. Don West goes, "Must be because he's thinking about the mouse too much."
Yes. He is so concentrated on the rodent in the cage.
What was he thinking about the mouse?
I don't even want to know.
If he'd fed it today?
Perhaps.
If it was comfortable? What was on his mind that prevented him from having a competitive match with Senshi?
Maybe he was merely occupied by the joy that he had taken Black Rain's mouse. I've got his mouse, he thought, and then he was kicked in the face.
So anyway, Black Rain ran in afterwards, who had been dusting like 10 minutes prior. He painted his face, put on his outfit, changed, and everything in the course of like 10 minutes. Ran out, beat up on Dustin, and hit him with the mouse cage because the mouse wasn't in there, and this was lame. You know what it needs to go is it comes out that Black Rain and Dustin are actually two different people.
That would be fine. There's some other fat Texan running around.
I don't know how they did have to build it up like they were going to have a match together on pay-per-view.
And they actually showed up.
But somebody got hurt, so you couldn't actually have the match. We can't have the match, dumbass, can you?
You can find some other fat, tall guy, put him in silver makeup.
Impossible. So then, what do we have? Jim Mitchell backstage with Mesias on his stage.
Standing in the background like a Price is Right showcase.
Yeah, it's just weird. He said wrestling fans were used to bait and switch, which, there's the story of TNA, but he guaranteed a 20-year secret would be revealed tonight. Yeehaw. AJ and Lance Hoyt, this went about a minute, and then Abyss and Lance Hoyt. God damn it.
AJ
You take over.
AJ met Tomko in the locker room. He wanted advice from Tomko. Should I take the title shot or should I give Kurt a bye? Tomko said, "Dude, you don't need Kurt. You won the tag team titles without Kurt." And I thought, he won 3 world championships without Kurt, but nobody brought that up. So Tomko told him he needed to be his own man and take the title shot, and AJ basically said he was still undecided. So,
all right, fine, enough out of you. Abyss and Lance Hoyt, like I said, it went about 1 minute. Abyss clotheslined Hoyt outside and then tried to press slam Rave onto him, but of course it's Jimmy Rave, so he got dropped right on his hip and his ass, and I would have long since quit the business if I was this poor guy. So Mitchell came out, and apparently that was the end of the match, by the way, and said if Abyss was not... Oh, no, there was more. He said if Abyss wasn't going to reveal the secret, he was going to do it. So he went backstage, and the match continued. Abyss won clean with the black hole slam, and then Mitchell appeared on the big screen, and to make a long, shitty story short, he's Abyss's father.
Dun, dun, dun.
I thought he was his father before.
I don't know.
Wasn't he?
Maybe. I don't know. I think you may be confusing this with Paul Bearer and Kane, which is the same thing.
I could have sworn Mitchell already said he was Abyss's father. I guess not, because his father got shot 3 times in the back.
Yeah, well,
anyway, who cares?
No one cares.
No one in the audience cared.
I just remember there was once a match between Abyss and Lance Hoyt wherein half the crowd was singing the Abyss song, saying, "Go, go Abyss," and the other crowd half was going, "Hoyt, Hoyt, Hoyt, Hoyt," and it was the best thing I ever saw.
And now we've got this.
Now we have this shit.
And no one cares
No
about
one gives a damn.
Robert Roode against Sanjay Dutt. This was fun. Robert Roode is great. Sanjay Dutt took a great beating. We had the girls involved. Anyway, what happened at the end? Roode won clean with the fisherman suplex. I remembered that. And then I remember, here's what I remember about this whole segment. Roode has his new girl out there, Peyton Manning, apparently. I don't remember her actual name, but
that's funnier.
She's out there, and she's in the ring. It's the first time she's debuted on the show with Robert Roode. So after the match is over, Robert Roode won clean. He's got his girl in the ring. Tracy's on the outside, and Tracy just on the outside staring a hole through both of them. And I thought, awesome. This may actually be something at some point. So, of course, it's TNA, so she hits the ring. The girls get in a brawl. Roode pulls them apart. Shit happens, and I thought, you just threw it all away today.
Yeah.
You had begun what was looking to be a great slow build that I could have gotten into it, and now I don't care.
No.
I've seen them fight.
Why
Who
should you
gives a
care?
fuck?
And it wasn't very good.
They ruined it.
They ruined everything. Everything
do.
they touch turns to shit.
They ruin everything. So then BG told Kip that he wanted to fight for the tag belts with this certain man who was on the way, and he told Kip to trust him. Team Prawn showed up in Sharky's room and offered a blowjob or something. It was now
I don't know what happened in the segment.
Officially stupid. So BG and Kip came out, and BG ended up announcing, well, here's my partner, a role model, a hero, a man who's wrestled his entire life to put food on the table. I always wanted to stand across from this man as his partner, Bullet Bob, my father. And Kip was taken aback, and the Bullet came out, and he looked great, and they all hugged, and Billy was happy with this. He was fine with Road Dogg teaming with his dad. And so it was such a great moment, and they immediately cut away.
Of course they did. There's no time, Brian. There's only 2 hours.
Every time I watch this show, I just try and tell myself, don't care, Brian. Just don't care. Just watch it, write what happens, do a wacky little report, move on with your life. Do not get invested in this program. You're just going to get mad. Yet every fucking week, this made me so angry that they would cut away from this like it meant nothing. It just made me so fucking mad, and I sat there and I thought, quit beating yourself up, dude. Just give up.
You know what?
Why care?
It was I forget what segment it was during the show. It was not this one, but it was during the show, and I thought, watching Impact is like being stuck in traffic, where you just get angrier and angrier, and you're yelling and screaming, and at a point it just dawns on you, getting angry won't solve anything. And you just calm down, you resign yourself to your fate, you know all you can do is wait and advance 10 feet at a time, and celebrate those short moments of joy, such as a cool song coming on the radio, or a hot chick getting stuck in the car next to you.
I don't do that. I try and get in the shoulder and drive illegally.
That doesn't work either, does it?
That's why I fast forward through this fucking show. And people yell at me for missing stuff. You try and watch this whole damn show if you're so angry that we're missing stuff. Try and watch this whole Impact.
It can't be done.
Including commercials.
Oh,
you know how long the show would seem with commercials? 10 hours. I dare you.
I would cut
listening
myself.
to this right now to watch this entire show without commercials. Just do it. Pussies yelling at me. So anyway, then we had the last segment with Sharboy, which was the stupidest of all, where he woke up from his coma, and now he cuts promos exactly like Steve Austin, using all of his catchphrases. Why not just cut a promo saying, I came out of my coma. I'm in TNA. We're second rate. We're shit here in TNA. WWE's better. It's 1997. Sharkboy, I'll bet that's the gimmick. He wakes up and he thinks it's 1997.
That'd be so much better. Came out to like I don't know, Goo Goo Dolls or Matchbox 20.
I hate this show. I just hate it. Angle cut a promo. He said he was going to do something and something. Let's just move on. We actually had a good segment. Scott Steiner and Petey Williams were backstage. Steiner, of course, has stolen Petey's briefcase. All right? Because Petey had the world title, and Scott Steiner didn't want the X title. So he stole his briefcase. So Petey and Scott are in the office with Cornette, and Cornette is trying to talk some sense into Scott Steiner. He doesn't just say, Scott, give the goddamn briefcase back. It's not yours. Instead, he gives him a pep talk. He explains to him that the X Division is great, and it is a worthy division, and that she should be proud to be the X Division champion. And Steiner goes, so you're telling me that everyone in the division is not 4 feet tall and 125 pounds? And Cornette says, yes, the X Division is not about limits and weight, it's about being the best. And he gave such a great pep talk that Scott Steiner stole his own briefcase back with the X Division title and ran off. That was the segment.
And
I thought this was good.
And it made sense.
Except for the part that the whole storyline at the pay-per-view is there's going to be a weight limit for the X Division.
Are you suggesting Scott Steiner may not fall under 275 pounds?
It would prevent Scott Steiner, in fact, from fighting in that division.
Well, I got to see Jim Cornette cut a promo, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah. God, these people don't think. Why would you do this with Scott Steiner in the X Division if you just earlier in the show did a deal where the X Division is now going to have weight limits, and it's about small guys? How stupid can you possibly be? I seriously want to know, how stupid can a person possibly be?
Every week they break the record. It's been like 2 straight months now where every time I think they've hit rock bottom, it's worse the next week. Last week's show was okay, but as far as the stupidity, they never fail to find new and inventive ways to suck.
Yeah. Except for the event, which was a good match. AJ, Joe, and Christian, it was an elimination match. And as we mentioned a few weeks ago, everybody has their own set of rules in TNA. And what did I say Joe's rules were?
He can get disqualified.
Yes, he's the only guy in the company that can get disqualified. And sure as shit, he got disqualified in this match.
And he got disqualified, and he didn't do anything. He picked up a chair that had been used by others. And the ref saw him with a chair and saw men that had been knocked down and said, hey, you hit them with a chair. You're out of here.
Sometimes I think that TNA hates me, Bryan Alvarez, so much that they write this show for me to try and drive me out of my mind. There's no other explanation for Joe getting DQ'd. Or MJ Styles a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know.
Everything else they've done. This show is written for me to punish me. To punish me for not liking what I'm being punished with.
Well, it's working.
Think about that. That's like torturing me, and when I complain, they torture me more. I guess that's what torture is.
That is kind of the point, yes.
That's exactly what TNA is. It is a curse on me, Bryan Alvarez. But at least they gave me a good match here. It was a fine little battle. Joe was DQ'd, so we got AJ versus Christian. I do like how the AJ-Christian blood feud set up at the pay-per-view has culminated here on Impact 2 weeks later. That's awesome. In a 3-way elimination, not even a singles match.
Yeah, in a somewhat random event.
Yeah, it wasn't even like they built it up for 2 hours.
No.
It was like they had a 3-way and one guy got eliminated, so you were left with this.
No one knew it was going to happen until it started.
Yeah. This place is awesome. So anyway, Christian gave him this brutal spear. AJ was killed. I just remember the spear. Fought back and forth, near falls. Christian finally pinned him clean with the Unprayer. Thumbs up for the match, thumbs up for the finish, and it
Two middle fingers up for the promotion.
Totally saved what had been an otherwise usually wretched show, as it always is. So yeah, that was Impact, and then immediately afterwards we had Global Impact, which was like... I actually talked to somebody from TNA today, and they said the exact same thing that I had written in the newsletter this past week, which was... I would rather go to a WWE TV taping, or actually what I said was I'd rather watch a WWE show than Impact. Anyone. Even ECW most weeks. Not this particular week, but I would rather watch any edition of Raw, even the worst Raw, than Impact. I would rather watch any edition of SmackDown, even the worst SmackDown, than Impact. However, based on all of the reports that I get from house shows, I would go to a TNA house show before I would ever go to a WWE house show. Because at a TNA house show, it's all of the great workers with no shitty angles, no promos, just going out and having great wrestling matches. That's all it is.
That sounds like fun.
It is, and that's what we got on Global Impact. We had Kurt Angle facing Yuji Nagata in a fucking wrestling match in the Tokyo Dome with a clean finish, and it was so awesome. Except for the goddamn announcers. That was a failure. But... on TV, on the big screen, I underrated this match in the newsletter. I gave it 3.5 stars watching it on YouTube. Actually, on the big screen with better audio and better video and just getting to watch it a second time, this was a much better match. This was 3 3/4 or 4 stars. This was some good stuff. If you missed this, it sucks to be you. And that actually suggests that the Nakamura match and Hiroshi Tanahashi was even better than I rated it as well. So perhaps I'll have to get a copy of that one too, but...
I would be fine with that. I bet this was an awesome show.
This was a great match. It was a great show. It was everybody in Japan being very serious and talking about how this is Japan. There's no bullshit. It's basically what they said. There's no bullshit here. We just wrestle.
There's
and that's
no
what the
theatrics
fans
here.
want to
It's
see.
all about the physical style. Yes.
This show was so great. If Impact was like this every week, it would be my favorite show.
Fuck yes.
Instead, we get that other disaster of a program. This was great.
It was awesome. We saw them all arrive at the airport. We saw Tomko working out. We saw them do press conferences. They all talked about their matches. No one broke character or broke kayfabe, but they never broke kayfabe, but they were out of character. They were cutting promos. You know, Bubba Ray Dudley cut a promo on a bus, and he was just sitting there on a bus talking about what it meant to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome.
It was great.
It meant a lot. Tomko worked out. He said, boy, working out sucks, but it makes you big. Okay, cool. And then they did, because it's Japan, they always do post-match press conferences. This is a tradition that must start over in this country.
Yes.
Just Tomko and Bernard, who I have not seen him wrestle in a long time, but I seeing how Tomko's improved, it's like Bernard must also have improved to a great deal. They must be an awesome team right now.
Yep.
They wrestled the Steiners and beat them, and Tomko's at the press conference saying, they're the best team of all time. And we just beat them, so what does that make us?
Yeah.
Just all these, it was all so great. And so simple and obvious and plain. It was every match had the same story. You had two men on either side, or two teams of men on either side. They each wanted to see who was better. And then they found out in a contest wherein one side was declared the victor. Wow! And they kept talking about how we're giving you a taste of international flavor. Here's something new for a change. And all I can think was, you idiots have no idea why this is better, do you?
No.
Not one clue.
They have no idea. They're all idiots.
And Angle and the God had a very good match, and the only negative, and it's a giant negative, was Don West and Mike Tenay.
Yes.
Now, they're horrible every week. We know it. We make fun of them. We've done it tonight. But when you're watching Impact, there is so much bullshit going on. They're just like part of the bullshit, and they don't stand out. When you're watching something that's good, and it's a good match with good production values and good editing and good direction, and then they're doing the announcing and they're the only negative, my God, they're unbearable. They're wretched.
They just talked, and there was never a moment of silence.
And it is not... And they were talking 1,000,000 miles an hour for the whole time.
I don't remember a single thing they said.
No, it was.
It did not add to them. It detracted. In fact, there was one point where Tenay goes, "Let's give you all a flavor of the Japanese announcers here," and they cut away to the Japanese announcers, and I was just in heaven.
Yes,
I was like, "Okay, good, end the match like this." Nope, they gave it to us in true Impact fashion for about 2 seconds.
Yes,
and then it was to the back.
He said, "Let's go to the Japanese announcers." Okay, we're back. They went to the Japanese announcers for as long as it took Mike Tenay to inhale.
Yes.
God, I hate this company. and I know they're back there thinking, well, that was wacky. That was goofy. That was something different. Yeah, it got half the rating of our normal show, or a little better than half of what the show did before it. So maybe we'll do this once a year. And I know I'm just sitting back thinking, just do the show. I will love you if you do this show, but you never will, because you're fucking TNA.
Some of you on the board and some of you listening to this have accused me in the past of never disagreeing with Dave Meltzer, which of course is incorrect. We have had our disagreements on occasion, although we do largely agree with everything.
I believe the most famous one was one of you thought Heidenreich was better than Snitsky and the other disagreed.
That was, and I believe I won in the end.
I believe you were saying Snitsky was better.
And I believe in the end I was victorious.
Yes.
Now, this is a huge disagreement between myself and Dave, but it is all a matter of opinion, But
Dave's is wrong.
Dave's is...
I will say this. Dave Meltzer's fucking stupid.
Vinny.
There's no other explanation for what you're about to say.
No. I will just say that everybody has a difference of opinion, and I do believe that his opinion is flawed here, and that is that in the Observer Awards this year, TNA Impact won Worst Show of the Year.
Yes.
And Dave tried to explain that ECW was, in fact, a worse show.
That's because Dave's stupid.
Dave is not stupid, but... he didn't even read it, Vinny. So maybe he had a good reason for thinking that ECW was worse.
No, Brian, because no such thing exists.
I will just say that I do, in fact, disagree. There is no way in the world that ECW is a worse show than TNA Impact.
I will just say that I'm not biased against Dave. I have nothing against him until now. I'm not saying he's wrong because he's stupid. I'm saying he's stupid because he thinks ECW is worse.
ECW has had some horrible shows. Although
It's not good. Don't get me wrong.
I still firmly believe that the worst show I've ever seen in my entire life is TNA Impact.
Impact should not have been the worst show of the year. It should have been the worst show of all time.
I wrote the entire story of the death of WCW, and as bad as Thunder and Nitro were, to me, Brian Alvarez, I still found ways to enjoy them in ways that I cannot find with TNA Impact. The first hour of this Impact show was the worst show ever. It was so bad in so many different ways. Now, granted, the second hour was fine. In fact,
the first half of the second hour was awesome.
I will actually say that the second hour was good. But this first hour,
I spent most of the first hour wondering how can they have the worst show of all time every week. It's remarkable. You would think eventually just the law of averages would say it would be a show better than the week before, but it never happens.
No.
And then this week, as great as the first hour was, or excuse me, as great as the second hour was, the first hour was so bad, I still am left with a negative vibe.
I wasn't. The second hour was good enough that I gave this show a thumbs in the middle at least. Maybe a thumbs up. We'll see what happens as I review it. It opened up with Cornette cutting a promo to everybody backstage. He said, yes, last week's deal with Joe was bullshit, but it wasn't his fault, it was the ref's fault. He said the heat was on, he needed a great show tonight, so he signed Black Machismo versus Johnny Devine in a street fight, and the Motor City Machine Guns versus AJ and Tomko for the tag titles. Now, in the room was Black Machismo and Johnny Devine, and Devine had the belt, which is Black Machismo's. He's not the champion, Johnny Devine. He simply has possession of the belt because he stole it. He's in the room with fucking Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette does not care enough to say, just give him his belt back. Jim Cornette apparently does not care.
No. Not even a little.
It's things like this where I watch this show and something so stupid happens that I can't even pay attention to the rest of the segment.
That's totally reasonable. I actually had one of those moments slightly earlier. They did their usual 30-second recap of what happened the week prior, which is always just mind-boggling and mystifying and stupefying. And there was a bit where it just said, last week after Impact. And I swear to God, we got 3 seconds of Joe walking away and Kevin Nash saying, Joe! Joe! And then it cut back. What the fuck was that?
I don't know. And then after this whole thing went down, the Dudleys came in and started screaming, and so Cornette added them to the match.
Yes, they were screaming at Cornette. They said perhaps his brain was hurt when he fell off the scaffold. And then no one ever talked about it again. For a lot of you listening, in 1986, 22 years ago,
yes,
22 years ago, Jim Cornette was involved in a scaffold match between the Midnight Express and the Road Warriors. At the finish of this match, he took a tumble, he took a bad landing, and he screwed up his knee for life.
Yes.
They didn't mention this to you.
No.
So if you were born the next day, and you have since lived the rest of your life, and you have now been drinking for a year, that's what happened.
Yes. Nash came out for some thoughts. He was mad at Cornette. He said Joe got screwed. They're friends again. I had a friend of mine who watches every fucking Impact, and even writes quite a bit about Impact, and he had no idea why these men were friends. And
I don't have any idea.
And he was able to recap all of the different spots in this match, or in this feud, but he still couldn't figure out what the babyface turn was.
Oh.
And I explained to him that I actually know this. The one they had where Joe had a bat, or Nash had a bat, and they were yelling at each other, and Nash explained, I turned on you for your own good, to teach you about the business, and then he gave Joe the bat and told him to go ahead and hit him, and then he said, I know you won't, and he walked out, and they immediately cut away. That was the entire turn, everybody.
That was the one where both guys turned babyface.
That was the entire turn. So for those of you wondering, yes, they're both babyfaces now.
All I know is, this is the third straight segment, including the opening show recap, where they talked about Joe getting screwed last week, and all I could think was, did they show it? They may have shown it during that recap, but I was ranting about the Nash and Joe thing. It was just, we watched ECW and SmackDown where they did a 5-minute video package just on the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Which is a very simple thing. They could have spent a minute saying, here's what happened last week.
No, they couldn't. They've only got 2 hours.
They've only got 2 hours, you motherfuckers.
Nash had more. He said, Cornette could make this good, and he would be the mediator, or he could ignore it, and Joe would come into the Impact Zone and run wild. Now, Cornette should have known this was going to happen because at the beginning of the show, they alerted this. The name of this show was "You Will Never Forget Samoa Joe." So, with that said, of course, Matt Morgan came out and said he had a secret. It was not the 90s anymore, which in TNA is in fact a secret. Said the NWA and the Wolfpack were dead. Nash's career was on life support. I have no idea what the point of this promo was. I have no idea what is going on. And anyway, Nash, some stuff happened, and then Joe came out and laid out Morgan with a flying kick. Then he grabbed the mic and cut a promo saying Nash asked Cornette nicely to do it the easy way, but he didn't, and so they were going to have to do it the hard way. And before the night was over, Cornette would never forget his name. Now, many questions, of course. Are we going to get a Kevin Nash versus Matt Morgan pay-per-view match?
Oh,
I don't think so.
Oh, Lord.
Are we going to get a Joe versus Matt Morgan pay-per-view match? I don't think so. Are we getting a Matt Morgan-Jim Cornette championship match on pay-per-view? I don't think so. What is going on here?
I don't know.
What in the world is going on?
None of this made sense. I was only left with dread and bad thoughts. I will say that Matt Morgan's delivery on promos is awesome. His content sucks, but I don't really blame him for that because he's mired in this shitstorm. But his promo on Nash where he was tearing him down and calling him old, I enjoyed that. Then they had a physical confrontation, and the thought of them having a match frightened me. I began to shake and shiver. Joe came out. He kicked Morgan in the face, and things went on. And at this point, I was trying to figure out, okay, so Cornette, I guess, is a babyface commissioner because he hates Team 3D. Morgan's his bodyguard, so I guess that makes Morgan a babyface. So are Joe and Nash heels? I don't know. No one knows.
And no one cares.
It's impossible to tell.
So next up, almost pushed the wrong button right here. It's always a disastrous deal right there. So next up, we had Borash backstage saying tonight we're going to get the results of the TNA Awards for 2007. Nash, Karen, and AJ were there, and Angle said they had business to take care of, including a sit-down with Tomko to make an offer he could not refuse. AJ wasn't so sure about that, so Karen told the guys to leave, and she was alone with AJ and told him to do the favor for them tonight, and she'd do a favor for him later. And he leaped up and said he'd get the sit-down arranged.
Same thing we've seen 27,000 times before.
Crystal interviewed Christian, who said the sit-down with Tomko was pointless because Tomko was a man of principles, did what he wanted to do, and what he wanted to do was be independent. He wished Angle luck. Yee-haw.
Both these segments, they also talked about the TNA Awards they would be given out on this show. Everyone talked about how they wanted to win, and guys, when they won, gave speeches, and I had never heard of these awards until this show started. And, you know, the Oscars, this is probably the biggest award show, they announced their nominations, and then let like 2 months go by. So everyone will talk about it, and then they get excited, and they can't wait to see whose name is in the envelope. TNA gives you 15 minutes.
Well, there was already voting, so apparently they had voting on the TNA website, and they didn't plug it.
Way to go, guys.
You've got a website you don't plug, and you've got national television. You are retarded. So then we had Crystal, she interviewed Booker, and she tried to, but he walked off. This was a 1-second segment. Indeed.
Yes.
This was needed on this show.
Yeah.
Robert Roode and James Storm against Derek Young and Sanjay Dutt. Story is that Roode had Peyton dressed up like Tracy now, with a brown dye job, glasses. Final 3-minute match, and then Roode pinned Sanjay with a fisherman suplex, and then Tracy ran down for the pull apart with Peyton, and TNA has absolutely no patience. Everything is rushed.
Oh, of course.
And the segment was fine, but again, everything was rushed.
And they're also, Mike Tenay was discussing the pay-per-view match that none of these men are involved in, with the Machine Guns and Team 3D, and talking about the possibility of the X Division going away. And he asked, what would happen to Sanjay Dutt if the Machine Guns lose that match? Well, I give up. What happens? Please tell me.
He would continue wrestling.
I guess so. We never learned the answer. Tenay asked the question and then just moved on.
Yes. There's never an answer to any of the questions on this show.
Oh, the whole thing. Yeah.
Black Machismo was introduced as the man who won the X Division Star of the Year. So, everybody think about this. You've got Black Machismo, who does a Randy Savage gimmick. The fans vote him the best X Division Superstar of the Year. He comes out. What do you think he does? Well, if you guess that he took off all of his Macho Man gear, stopped talking like Randy Savage, and cut a lame, boring promo about, and I want you to remember this, everybody, that he was having a tough time right now. He had lost his smile, and he was as mad as hell and did not feel much like taking it anymore. And I actually did that. The delivery was 100 times better than Jay Lethal. God bless you, young man. Epic fail. Epic fail.
This was a disaster in every way. And then they cut backstage to Black Rain.
Actually, first they cut to TNA giving us a stern look.
What was TNA's look? TNA, I don't know what. I can't even call it a stern look. TNA made a face. He just made a funny face at the camera for a while. Then they immediately cut backstage to Black Rain, and I just screamed, no, there is too much going on, and my brain could not take it.
Crystal was in the workshop.
And boy, if I had only known what was going to unfold.
He wanted his mouse back. Joe came in and beat him up, and then Kaz nonchalantly walked in and stole his scary gimmick. And it was over.
And that was it. 8 seconds, tops.
So we had Shark Boy versus Elix Skipper. This actually was an entertaining segment. Shark Boy is now Steve Austin. We've now got Randy Savage and Steve Austin in TNA, and they're both comedy versions of them, which makes this place look so low rent. But it's never not looked low rent, so I don't even care. I'm fine with this.
It's better to be funny than just shitty.
Yeah, this is at least entertaining, no buys bullshit. So he comes out with the walk, the jacket.
Yes, he has his own leather vest, which on the back has a skull with a shark fin on it.
That's right.
His music is it's the Steve Austin music with the Jaws theme playing underneath the bass line.
It's the in his catchphrase is, that's the fishing line because Shark Boy said so. The people chanted what when he cut his promo afterwards. He beat Elix, by the way, using all of the Steve Austin spots, including the stunner. And the people loved it. They loved it. And I am so fine with this.
Anything, yes.
Thumbs up to Shark Boy Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Shark Boy gets a thumbs up, particularly at the end when he climbed the turnbuckle and they threw him bottles of clam juice, which he then downed. That sounds disgusting.
Yes, this was great. So Gail Kim was a knockout of the year, and she came out and cut a promo, and here's what she said. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, but instead she was still suffering the effects of the concussion 2 weeks ago at the hands of Kong. She said Kong was a disgrace to the title.
And I screamed, what? Are you high?
She explained the other girls had worked their asses off, but Kong just was trying to hurt people.
That's why she's great.
How dare she? So, of course, Kong came out, and they had a little brawl, and Gail held her own, but then was headbutted in the bad head. And ODB made the save, and they had a wacky little brawl. ODB sent her outside with 3 drop kicks. The place went nuts for ODB. This will not be Kong versus Gail Kim in the ring. But the people want it, so who fucking cares?
Who fucking cares? You can't
Thumbs up.
You can't do Kong and Kim 12 times a year. You have to do Kong and ODB once. The people love Kong, or people love ODB, and she dumped Kong from the ring with 3 drop kicks, but Kong never left her feet, and even on the third one, she just tumbled through the ropes and landed on her feet on the floor, so she's still an unstoppable monster. She just fell.
Show was starting to get good, and then it got great. Angle was meeting with Tomko backstage, and the offer that Tomko could not refuse from Angle was become part of the Angle Alliance and get the perks. And Tomko's like, wow, well, what are the perks? And Kurt says, planes, trains, automobiles, and Karen. Tomko said, I have a wife, and I have a child, I don't need Karen. And Angle said, come on, this is Karen Angle, not some chick you picked up at a strip club. I cried with laughter.
Yes. Okay, that's not even the best part.
Line of the 21st century right there.
That was have had a classic line, which he repeated later to make it even better, but yes. The best part was Tomko immediately, and I mean immediately, with cat-like reflexes, reached out, grabbed Kurt's head with one hand, and punched it with the other. It was so grand and glorious. Tyson Tomko is so far and away the best dude on this show.
Yes, without question.
By miles and miles and miles. And he, the instant his wife's honor was questioned, he grabbed the man responsible, bullied him, dragged him behind the locker room for more abuse, and the rest of the wacky crew followed trying to stop him, but there was no avail.
Yes, he beat the shit out of him in the ring.
Awesome.
Karen was in there for some reason. Angle flipped out and screamed that Tomko had blown it, and he wanted him in the ring next week. And he demanded Tomko bring his stripper whore wife so he could make sure she got him to the hospital afterwards. And they got in another great brawl. And, of course, this was the best thing TNA has done in fucking ages. And so what do?
To the back?
To the back.
To the back.
To the back! And what did they have to go to the back for? Okay, hold on a second, everybody. Fucking Tomko. Tomko punches Kurt Angle. They have an awesome fucking pull-apart brawl. The place is going nuts. Tomko's awesome. Angle's awesome. It's a pull-apart. They've got geeks out there. Angle challenges Tomko. He wants a fucking fight next week.
One of these men is theoretically your champion.
Screams about his whore slut wife. It's just awesome. And they cut to the back because Johnny Devine had to cut a promo. This show sucks.
Yes, Johnny Devine cut a promo. Here's what he said. I'm going to win my match tonight. He handed the match to Bubba, who said, we are going to win our matches tonight. That was it. It took very slightly longer. It was very slightly more entertaining. It was every bit as pointless.
This is the worst show in the history of professional wrestling.
This is one of those moments where I think, how can it be the worst show every week? You would think eventually it would just be a bad show.
How can you write this script and write this shit in there?
I don't know. I go back to my traffic jam analogy. Watching TNA is like being stuck in traffic or in a line where there's nothing you can do. There's no sense in getting angry. I get angry, but I take a few deep breaths. I know there's something I can do. I just try to relax and stay calm and know that soon it will all come to an end and everything will be okay. Just take it easy.
This was a majestic fail. A larger-than-life fail. A fail on a grand scale. These words are not big enough for me.
Brian is in fact reading from the thesaurus as we speak.
See, Epic, they have words like heroic. This was not heroic.
This was a villainous fail.
This was a cowardly fail. A Virgilian fail.
Homeric fail?
Yes, a Homeric fail.
It was a fail of the gods.
God, these guys are just such... It's just...
They're retarded.
Incredible. It just is incredible.
I don't know how they dress themselves.
I don't know. I just don't understand. So then we had Black Machismo and Johnny Devine for the X Division title, which Black Machismo has, but Johnny Devine possesses. Of course, Street interfered. They had to distract the ref in a no DQ street fight.
Sure.
Devine won. He is now officially the X Division champion and has possession. So, double whammy right there. And then Joe hit the ring and beat the shit out of Devine. Put him in the camel clutch, or the...
He may as well have, actually.
He may have.
He suplexed him, put him in the camel clutch, broke his back, and fucked his ass.
Yeah, he did, really. And this was the final nail in the X Division coffin, except for losing the whole division. I was just amazed. You make the man the champion, and he's immediately made to look like a loser.
He's the champion who won because his two fat friends interfered, and then put him on top so he won, so he's unconscious and bleeding holding his belt, and then he got his ass kicked by another fat guy.
They may as well just get rid of the X Division. It's a utter failure.
It would do the X Division wrestlers a failure to kill the division.
Also a Homeric fail.
Yeah, indeed.
Today, Abyss sit-down interview with scary fucking music in the background.
And Abyss is wearing a shirt.
Yes. He said, and I quote, "Mitchell is my father, but only biologically. The actual insertion of sperm was only a minor part of this whole fatherly deal right here." So, his scars, he said, are healed?
Yes.
Amazing.
That's the only line I remember was he was talking about Abyss or Mesias and Mitchell and barbed wire, and he held his arm out from the big, long, pink scars, which when he had his barbed wire match with Sabu, I noted he's going to have big, thick pink lines running down his arm for the rest of his life. I hope he's happy. So here we are, 2-3 years later. He shows these big, thick pink lines to Mike Tenay and says, "My scars have healed." No, they haven't. That's why they're called scars. They don't heal.
He said he was going to do bad things to Mesias at the pay-per-view. I didn't even know they were wrestling. Oh, it's the barbed wire bullshit match. That's already been taped, actually.
That's already been taped and will be aired online. Yes.
That should be what it's called, by the way. The barbed wire bullshit match. So we had the most memorable moment of TNA, which was, I swear to Christ, Booker T jumping ship. Which, boy, does that just tell you TNA in a nutshell?
The moment of the year was a new guy showing up from the real show, and as Booker T is coming out of the ring, Don West is saying, all the great moments in TNA. Booker T showing up, Kurt Angle showing up, Sting showing up. Yes, whenever anyone else does a guest appearance on your wacky show, that's the best part.
I just loved that that was the biggest moment of the year and how epically they fucked it up.
Yes, and now he's just a guy.
So he came out and cut a promo, and he said, "I just want to tell my wife I love her, because I'm having a very tough time right now." For those of you not keeping track, every single person cut the same promo when they accepted their award. Everyone came out and said, "This should be a great day, but I'm having a tough time in my life."
Sure. It's award season.
This is the worst writing crew I've ever seen in any form of entertainment.
No, don't call it show business. This is not entertaining.
They couldn't have one person, like, be happy.
No, they could not. They couldn't have. All they had to do was have Jay Lethal come out and say, "Oh yeah, kiss SoCal Val and leave." But no, he had to talk about losing his smile.
I can't even believe how much stuff there is left on this show. So then Robert Roode came out on the big screen and said his wife, or Booker was a horrible man for letting his wife get in harm's way. I actually like this. They replayed the footage. It's because they actually made this, they made the most of an angle for once. They have really played this up like this is an important angle. And I can tell you, at the end of this year, this may be the only angle I can remember. Because it's the only fucking one they've hammered into our heads.
Yes. Robert Roode punched Sharmell. It was bad news. So Robert Roode cuts this great promo, and then they go back to the ring where Kendall Gill was there. He's a former basketball player. He was there to plug Pros vs. Joes, and looks up at the screen. He's watching Roode talk about hitting this man's wife and how it was Booker's fault, and then it ends, and Roode gives an evil cackle, and they come back to the ring, and Kendall Gill just kind of starts to clap. All right.
Yeah. To the back, Crystal interviewed BG and the Bullet. And BG said he couldn't wait for the title shot at the pay-per-view. He said for the next 3 weeks he was going to enjoy himself, perhaps take a trip to Mexico. But then the Bullet grabbed the mic and said, "Hell no, young man. We're going to be up at 6 o'clock training our asses off, and you'll be puking." And BG's like, oh, Christ. And this ruled.
This was great. This is one where you're sad it was only 20 seconds. They couldn't have given these two guys a full minute. I guess they made their point and were done, but it was the old Marine and the even older Marine going back to train.
Awesome. So, then we had a beautiful segment, the best on the entire show, and perhaps the best in the history of TNA. First out came Jimmy Rave, Christy Hemme, and Lance Hoyt, who are doing a Guitar Hero gimmick.
Yes.
Complete with Christy singing in the most horrifying manner possible. And she's starting a band.
She actually has a band. That is the best part.
Unlike Jillian, who's doing this for comedy, Christy has a band, and she's being this bad. Like, this is an advertisement for her band?
Yeah.
In a million years, I'd never see her band.
I would never
sweetheart.
go see that band. But yes,
even if you were nude.
I would. I would then go and I would deal with it. But when Jimmy Rave and Lance Hoyt came out and they stood on the stage playing their fake guitars and then got in the ring and climbed the turnbuckles and had a Guitar Hero concert without the game, that's buys.
Yeah.
And then it got better. It got substantially better. Out
came their opponents, Tiger Mask and Curry Man.
I wanted to see Curry Man get a shot in the U.S. for like 5 years, probably more.
They've given it to him.
They have finally given him a chance to shine. And you know what? He shined like a goddamn shooting star.
This was the entire Curry Man gimmick with the fucking the thing of curry on his head,
yes.
The mask, the dance, the entire 9 yards.
The dance, the music. He was announced, the lights went dark, and the announcer said, weighing whatever from wherever, he is spicy, he is hot, he tastes great, Curry Man. And Curry Man came out doing his dance, and he was over instantly.
Instantly.
Everyone saw him and said, I love that guy.
Yes.
And he came out, he was awesome. They had a match. It was designed specifically to make Curry Man in particular, but Tiger Mask as well, to make these guys look like stars. Jimmy Rave and Lance Hoyt did a perfectly acceptable job of, they were just there to be the foils for the real stars, and they were awesome. Both guys. They were great. Curry Man looked awesome. Tiger Mask looked fine. The team, the new debuting exciting team actually won, which is also kind of remarkable. They won clean with their finish. So many buys. So many thousands of buys. For me. Just for me.
I love Chris Daniels. Hate to break kayfabe, everybody, but I love Chris Daniels, but Curry Man needs to remain forever.
Yes.
Forever.
The fallen angel must now be dead.
He has lost, and he may never come back. That's the rules.
He was so much better in this match than this guy has been in TNA since day one.
I will not say so much better, but I will say he was so much more entertaining.
Fine. But he's had some great moments. But point being, this guy has been with TNA since day one, and I believe since match one. And I've never enjoyed him more than I did on this part.
It was so awesome.
So great.
He needs to be the TNA champion.
Yes.
He is their key to 5 million viewers. If anybody is listening right now from TNA, I'm telling you.
Curry Man.
He hit the spicy rack on Rave, and Hoyt broke it up, and then Curry dove on him, and Tiger hit the diving headbutt for the pin. It was the best TNA moment since 2002, I'm telling you right now. Awesome. Then we had an awesome Brock Lesnar-Frank Mir video package. Brock was great, saying this wasn't bullshit. He was going to drop Mir on his head. It was going to be a great night, he said. Fantastic.
He's looking forward to killing the man.
Yes.
Awesome.
Samoa Joe won MVP of the year. I love Joe, but on what grounds did he win this prize?
No, I was trying to think, what great wins did Samoa Joe have? Is it because he won all the belts in that wacky tag match with the Dudleys?
So Joe, of course, came out and said, well, I'm having problems right now.
Now 4 for 4.
He wanted to know why he hadn't got a title shot, and Borash said, well, you did get one a few months ago against Angle, and you didn't win. Joe said, well, that's the right answer, but tonight it's the wrong one. And he clotheslined him. Borash took what may have been his first bump in history, which was fine. And then Joe said, Cornette hit the ring, and Joe threatened to go after him, and then Nash came down to calm him down, and they carted Borash off. And Cornette said, listen, you got fucked last week, but guess what? Shit happens in wrestling. It happens in all sports. I'm sorry. This match is set in stone for the pay-per-view, Angle versus Christian, but I will name you the special guest enforcer in the match. And Joe wasn't so happy about that and Cornette said, listen, if you do this, I will give you the shot at the March pay-per-view. So Nash whispered something in Joe's ear. Joe said, fine, I want my opportunity, but I also want a 5-year deal with TNA where every year I get paid 15% more than Kurt Angle. Cornette said, give me some time to think about it. Joe said no, so Cornette said, fine, I'll give it to you next week. A couple questions here. All this build for Tomko, and we've already got the main event for the next 2 pay-per-views booked.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Number 2. Joe bitches about his title match. Joe gets his title match, and he's more concerned about a 15% payment in addition to what he's getting or over what Kurt Angle's getting or something like that. And it's like, what a way to make the fans all of a sudden not care.
Oh, yeah.
What fucking fan gives 2 fucks about how much Samoa Joe is making in TNA?
Because there's nothing more heroic than a guy bitching about his contract.
This was seriously like, they were on their way to something here, and then they threw that line out, and you could just hear the crowd go, huh? What? Who cares?
We don't care.
Epic fail.
Epic fail. And you know, this is kind of going back to what we've talked about this whole show, but the main angle, as far as I can gather, in TNA these days is that Joe hates the world. So when Joe came out to won the award, he came out to give a speech and he was angry. No one cared because everyone had been angry already. If everyone else had won the award and been happy, then Joe being angry may have been different and may have seemed important. As it was just another segment on the show because this writing crew sucks.
Then we had AJ and Tomko against Team 3D and the Motor City Machine Guns in a 3-way for the tag titles. Couldn't just have a match because it's TNA. The rules were you could not tag your own partner, and partners could not wrestle each other. Jesus Christ.
Now listen, if you say partners can't wrestle each other, that's fine, because that doesn't make sense anyway. So that I'm fine with. Then you say you can't tag your own partner in. Why? I don't know.
Why would you ever tag?
I can't think of a single solitary reason. And keep in mind, folks, the tag team titles were on the line in this match. So the way to decide who the best tag team in TNA was to make sure these teams could not operate as such.
Yes.
Perhaps you're all aware of a game called football. American football, I know we have a lot of foreigners. We'll get into that argument later, but point being, they're having their championship game in about 10 days. It's called the Super Bowl. And what's going to happen is, they're going to the 2 best football teams together, and they're going to play a game of football. And the winner is declared the best. TNA takes their best teams together and has them play something entirely different. And that's who's decided to be the best.
Retarded.
They suck so much cock.
So AJ did a flip dive, and Karen tried to seduce Fat Bubba, so AJ got pissed and grabbed him, and Bubba threw him right into Karen, and she took a bump and was knocked out. She's taken so many more bumps than Borash at this point, by the way, with a broken leg. So AJ got back in the ring, tagged in Devon, and then went out and carried Karen to the back. We never saw him again until the match was over. Tomko was left on his own. It broke down into a 5-way, and in the melee, Tomko gave Devon a lariat for the pin. Doing an awesome job with Tomko.
Once again, he was left alone. He fought alone against 4 men and came out triumphant.
Yes.
He is a conquering hero.
Yes. And AJ ran down after the match and tried to hug him, but Tomko shoved him down. And Christian then came out on the ramp to applaud his old buddy, and thumbs in the middle show after recapping this entire thing. But I'm going to give a spoiler for next week's Impact. I can't imagine anybody caring about spoilers being given away. But if you do, shut off now. But Tomko beats Angle in like a non-title match or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like Tomko wins. Why?
I don't know.
No, seriously, why?
To build...
I think Tomko should win.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you put Tomko over when you've already got the main event for the next pay-per-view, which does not involve Tomko?
Correct.
And you've already set up the main event for the pay-per-view after, which also does not involve Tomko.
Because you need a strong card for April. So what you're going to do is weaken your champion between then and now.
Somebody better explain this to me, because I'm in the dark here about why you would do this. I mean, they're doing such a great job with Tomko. Why not go all the way with it? Why the fuck is Christian? Who cares about Christian and Angle?
I don't.
Who gives a flying fuck? At this point, who gives a fuck about Angle and Joe? They're both... Christian is a mid-card geek. Joe is a mid-card geek crying about his contract. And you've got Tomko, a step above them all. Tomko beats everybody in this particular match right here to retain his tag titles. Tomko beats Kurt Angle next week. And then what do they do with Tomko? I want to know where they're going with this.
I don't know.
They obviously have not thought about it at
They
all.
apparently have decided, with him being white hot and him having all the momentum in the world, it's time to put him on the back burner.
Oh, God, these people are...
Tomko, you're doing great. Take a seat.